Chapter 16:10. Compared to the boundless spirit sea, a single person was just a drop in the ocean. Even if he was an over-god. However, in the myriad worlds, there was once a mighty figure who said, "Give me a lever, and I can move the endless worlds and the infinite planes." In the eyes of many almighties, that lever was endless knowledge. Knowledge gave birth to power, and it helped countless experts to understand the rules. From there, they could control the rules, replace the rules, and jump out of the rules. In the eyes of the young expert, the bronze altar was such a lever. Around the lake, countless streams of blood surged. Many experts' corpses floated above the lake. Their essence, energy, and primordial spirits were scattered and merged into the blood-red lake. There was a terrifying cruelty to it. Although the small world was filled with birds, flowers, and spiritual energy, there was no sign of life. The bright red divine power was refined bit by the array formed by the bronze altar. As a sacrifice, the young expert watched this scene coldly. There was no warmth in his eyes. The bronze altar could continuously absorb the yuan qi of the myriad worlds from the void, slowly recovering its power and passing the cooldown time. However, the young expert didn't want to wait any longer. Looking around, there were not only corpses of god kings, god emperors, and god emperors in the lake. There were also corpses of several ancestor gods from the resistance. Terrifying resentment on the corpses turned into power for the bronze altar. The light above the bronze altar grew brighter and brighter. Vaguely, a huge world appeared. The young expert clenched his fist. His eyebrows were sharp and his eyes were bright. He was obviously very shrewd, but when he looked at the world that was about to appear, he couldn't help but feel agitated. The upper world, it must be the upper world. As he muttered, his eyes were filled with a chilling intent. Under the agitation, he couldn't help but clench his fists. Half a year ago, through the bronze altar, he felt several extremely powerful auras outside the spirit sea. Those auras weren't any weaker than the primordial chaos holy god that had been attracted to the spirit sea. Clearly, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Those powerful primordial chaos holy gods lingered outside the spirit sea and didn't dare to fight head-on because they were afraid of the spirit sea's ruler. As long as the two worlds clashed again, the ruler of the spirit sea would temporarily lose the support of the spirit sea. He didn't believe that those powerful grand mist holy gods would be able to resist such a fat piece of meat. As the light above the bronze altar grew brighter and brighter, especially the complete aura of the laws of heaven and earth, the young expert couldn't hide his cold joy. Upper realm, this was another upper realm. Reality proved that his luck was not bad. "You're dead. Spirit Sea Ruler, you're dead for sure." The young expert couldn't help but laugh out loud. In the endless void, a beam of light floated above the void. Countless milky white yuan qi filled this beam of light. Wisps of yuan qi shuttled through the depths of the void, faintly visible as milky white shadows. Taoist Ling Hai's expression was like the eternally unchanging heavens. Countless white lights danced above his head. Sky Demon Avatar. The densely packed heavenly demon avatars were like specks of light in the void. There were probably hundreds of millions of them. Taoist Ling Hai was under Qin Feng's orders to search for the existence suspected to be in possession of that mysterious supreme treasure. That mysterious expert had mastered a mysterious treasure and had an incredible ability to conceal the secrets of heaven. Although the nets above snares below was being upgraded, it was unlikely that they would be able to catch that existence in a short period of time who possessed the mysterious treasure to conceal the secrets of heaven. Left with no choice, Taoist Ling Hai could only think of a stupid method. He used the method of elimination to track down a portion of the resistance's low-level existences. In the void, Taoist Ling Hai gazed at the densely packed plains before him. This plain was located in the periphery of the Spirit Sea, in the southeast. It should be a region that no gods paid attention to. There were many such regions in the Spirit Sea. In reality, the Spirit Sea divine system was powerful, but there were countless planes. There were so many experts that they couldn't take care of them all. There were even some large planes that couldn't be taken care of. Following the traces of the Resistance's disappearance, they appeared in this secluded plane community. Taoist Ling Hai had been near this group of planes for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years ago, the auras of the powerhouses of the Resistance never appeared again after they entered this remote region of the plane community. Clearly, there was a conspiracy in one of these planes. Countless heavenly demons split off and shuttled back and forth between the planes. Countless heavenly demons were born on his palm at all times, and it was a shocking sight to behold. However, they were different from the heavenly demon experts under Demon Venerable Tsong Tian's command in the demon domain. The heaven devils in Taoist Spirit Sea's hands were different from ordinary heaven devils and devil gods. They were not evil on the surface, but holy, benevolent, and dignified. They were like Buddhas, gods, and even mortals. They were like the vital energy of formless mortals. They were ever-changing. The heavenly demon's ability to transform was unleashed to the extreme. Taoist Ling Hai called these heavenly demons the Great Void Heavenly Demons. As soon as the Great Void Heavenly Demons entered the various planes, they fused with the planes. Taoist Ling Hai had done this countless times over the past hundreds of years. The illusory heavenly demons didn't have any offensive power. However, they were stealthy and formless. They had a special ability. The Great Void Heavenly Demons were like vital energy. When they fell into a plane, they would merge with the laws of heaven and earth, turning into an illusory demon eye. In the small plane, the mysterious expert's smile had stopped abruptly. He looked up at the sky as if he had seen a ghost. The bronze light on the bronze altar gathered, and an invisible force blasted open a passage leading to the endless chaos. A light that surpassed the myriad worlds summoned the foreign upper realm that had been locked down to descend. As the invisible ripples spread out, many strange eyes suddenly grew in the sky above the small plane, as if stimulated. The eyes were formless and formless, as if they had grown out of thin air, like the terrifying thousand-eyed demons. Looking at the countless white eyes, the mysterious expert subconsciously rushed toward the bronze altar. His speed was extremely fast, as if he had cut through time and space. However, he had only taken a few steps when his body froze in the void silently. A majestic power that wasn't inferior to an ordinary mortal immortal burst out, like a huge blazing sun. However, that terrifying divine power seemed to have frozen in the void. At the same time, a gray-robed figure silently outlined in the void, slowly materializing out of thin air. The air conditioner was broken. After half a day, it was a few hours late. Chapter 16:11. With the appearance of this figure, an invisible force descended. Under this force, the entire world seemed to tremble and tremble. It was as if it had turned into fine powder in the next moment. Taoist Ling Hai's gaze fell on the figure that was speeding like a shadow, but was frozen in the void. So the rat that has been hiding in the dark is him. With just a glance, a strange look appeared in Taoist Ling Hai's eyes. At this moment, this mysterious youth was no longer mysterious in Taoist Ling Hai's eyes. His entire body's divine power was suppressed, and he couldn't move. The radiance of the secret treasure that surrounded him was like a window made of paper under the might of a peak 17th-level expert. All the haze dissipated. It was an extremely young face, about 15 or 16 years old. His appearance was ordinary, with a long face and a sharp mouth. This face was vaguely connected to a peerless expert of the Golden Age in Taoist Ling Hai's memories. The Golden Sovereign's body. A hint of understanding flashed in Taoist Ling Hai's eyes. In Qin Feng's memories, the most prosperous period of the Golden Age was when the 19th-level sovereign appeared. He was the pinnacle existence of the entire Golden Age, and his glory shrouded countless eras. It could be said that the entire Golden Age made him a person. His achievements even surpassed the primordial chaos Daoist, the immemorial Three Sovereigns, and the Eastern Wilderness Great Emperor in the legends of the Spirit Sea world. It could be said that he was unprecedented. Almost all the experts of the Golden Age had become his stepping stones. In that illusory trajectory of time, the ancestor of all demons had been plotted against by several peerless experts that he had colluded with, and had ultimately fallen. However, that period of time was ultimately just a fragment of a future tributary that the Book of Ian had intercepted in time before it shattered. The future was ever-changing, and 10,000 choices would give birth to billions of changes. Ling Hai had long been in the future that the Book of Ian had evolved into. However, it could be seen that the strongest existence of that period of time might have relied on the altar that had appeared in the lake, emitting a bronze radiance. Taoist Ling Hai waved his hand. Amidst fear and unwillingness, the Lord of the Golden Age in his memories suddenly turned into ashes. Layden's eyes were filled with unwillingness before he died. The bronze altar was such a heaven-defying treasure, yet he had died just like that. His death was so insignificant. He was like an ant that the Spirit Sea ruler could casually stomp to death, Taoist Ling Hai said. His gaze fell on the bronze altar, and he saw a terrifying majestic power emerging from the bronze radiance on the altar. With a flash of light, he appeared on the altar. The bronze altar trembled with wung-wung sounds. It could feel the death of its master. It seemed like it wanted to immediately fly away and find another master. Taoist Ling Hai didn't even blink. His 5 fingers turned into claws, and he pressed them onto the bronze altar. Bang, bang, bang! Within the bronze altar, there was a mighty force that caused Taoist Ling Hai's fingers to go numb. Even with the full power of the 17th level, he was unable to suppress it. Freeze! Taoist Ling Hai frowned. He clenched his fist, and the power of the Spirit Sea world was drawn into his palm. A majestic power was born, as if the power of the entire Spirit Sea smashed into the bronze altar. This time, the bronze altar finally lost its ability to resist. Under Taoist Ling Hai's guidance, the power of the Spirit Sea world forced its way into the bronze altar and began refining it. Within the bronze altar, there was a copious amount of spirituality that violently resisted Taoist Ling Hai's refinement. The bronze radiance seemed to cut through the ages, and blood appeared on Taoist Ling Hai's palm. The blood of a 17th-level powerhouse was extremely terrifying. A single drop could easily shatter a great world. Qin Feng had never been injured since he became a 17th-level powerhouse, not even by the 3 corpse doppelgangers. Taoist Ling Hai's expression didn't change. The bronze altar was meat on his chopping board now, and there was no way it could escape. For a few months, the small world would erupt with terrifying fluctuations from time to time. Taoist Ling Hai directly used the power of the Spirit Sea world to seal off this region and firmly control it. 6 months later, the fluctuations in the small world gradually subsided. At this moment, the small world, including the dozens of small planes around it, was like porcelain that had been shattered by billions of sound waves. It was covered with fine cracks and was about to fall apart. Countless lives, mountains, rivers, and space-time lost their vitality. In the small world, Taoist Ling Hai's face was filled with joy. After 6 months of refinement, the bronze altar had quietly been refined. On his palm, a portion of the bronze altar's power quietly appeared in Taoist Ling Hai's mind. He was familiar with it and controlled it. Compared to the previous owner of the bronze altar, Lei Feng, Taoist Ling Hai was stronger and controlled more abilities of the bronze altar. He had the heaven-defying trading ability, the ability to summon worlds, and an extremely mysterious ability that flowed into his primordial spirit. Even Taoist Ling Hai, who had a calm mind, felt a trace of shock. Trading at an unequal price. I really didn't expect there to be such a heaven-defying treasure in this world. Taoist Ling Hai fondly played with the shrunken bronze altar in his hand, and his eyes flashed with joy. After passing through the bronze altar, he saw countless rare treasures, cultivation methods, and divine abilities. This included the Eastern Wilderness Emperor's secret art, the 8 Wilderness Indestructible Heaven scripture, as well as the primordial 3 Sovereigns Holy God slaying art, the Khanate 8 Trigrams Tao scripture, and the Yen Emperor Cauldron scripture. Even the Chaos Universe's slaying 3 corpses secret art and the Buddhist sect's supreme true inheritance, the Amitabha Sutra, were on the list. There were also numerous spiritual treasures, such as the legendary Heaven-Splitting Axe, the Creation Jade Butterfly, the Pangu Banner, the Immortal Extermination 4 Swords, the Eastern Emperor Bell, and so on. There were also various rare treasures. According to the principle of trading at an unequal price, one only had to pay 1/10 or even 1/100th of the price to be able to materialize them. This ability was simply heaven-defying. However, compared to Qin Feng, who was in this realm, Qin Feng valued the last 2 abilities more. The ability to summon worlds and the last ability. If this ability was integrated into Ling Hai might really have the potential to become an immortal universe. Taoist Ling Hai squinted his eyes, and there were traces of sparkling divine light flickering in his eyes. If Ling Hai's world could become an immortal universe one day, as Ling Hai's world, it would probably instantly rise to the 19th level upon receiving the feedback. As he rubbed the bronze altar with his palm, Taoist Ling Hai noticed a certain coordinate. It was the upper realm whose summoning was suddenly terminated. In his mind, a light flashed, and he suddenly had a strange idea. His expression changed slightly, and after communicating with Qin Feng in the Lingshao Palace with his divine consciousness, he raised his head and looked outside of Ling Hai. A trace of a sneer appeared in his eyes, and an invisible radiance blasted into the bronze altar from his palm, activating it. As the bronze altar was activated again, in the distant chaos, the upper realm whose summoning was terminated began to move again, breaking through space toward Ling Hai. Chapter 16:12. It's here. In the chaos, many powerful primordial chaos holy gods from the origin god world had been waiting outside the spirit sea for a long time. They immediately discovered the upper realm whizzing over. The size of the upper realm was different from the ordinary greater thousand worlds. If it didn't move, perhaps no one would be able to discover its tracks in the boundless chaos. But once it started moving, it was like a blue whale in the ocean, riding the wind and waves with great momentum. In a hidden part of the chaos, the Apocalypse Lord raised his head. At this time, his legs had completely grown out. Looking above his head, it seemed like a huge sun was cutting through the chaos, dragging a long trail of crimson flames as it flew rapidly toward the Spirit Sea. Spirit Sea Ruler, you were lucky enough to escape the first time, but you won't be able to escape the second time. The Apocalypse Lord's eyes were burning with hatred as he looked in the direction of the Spirit Sea. Let's see how you're going to escape this time. At this moment, countless gazes were burning like flames as they looked at the Spirit Sea. It was only for a moment, but in that instant, the faces of the many chief gods of the pantheon who were watching this scene changed drastically. The violent collision that they had imagined, the sound of 2 worlds shattering did not appear. In the Spirit Sea, Qin Feng's figure appeared on top of the primordial chaos world tree. He looked over and saw a huge world rapidly appearing hundreds of millions of kilometers away from the Spirit Sea. As it neared the Spirit Sea, its flying speed slowed down, although it was still rushing toward the Spirit Sea at an extremely fast speed. But if the previous speed was a 100-meter sprint, this was an old lady taking a stroll. Qin Feng's palm moved slightly, and a bronze altar floated out from the depths of his palm. Of course, all of this was under Qin Feng's control. The benefits of slowing down the speed of the collision were obvious. Even if the 2 worlds collided, it wouldn't be like the shrouding heaven world, which directly crashed and broke through most of the crystal walls. He looked above the chaos as if he could see the various forces in the heavens getting restless. Qin Feng's lips curled up slightly with a slight sneer as he muttered, "Want to play games? Sure, but follow my rules." After a moment, his gaze fell on the bronze altar in his palm, and a strange light flickered in his eyes. Treasures could be divided into many types based on their uses. If it was used by a person, it could be used as a life-bound magic treasure. Some of them were for the use of their clans or sects, such as the treasures that were used to guard the core of the sect's formations. There were also secret realms and grotto heavens. Only after fusing with the grotto heavens would one be able to unleash their full power. For example, Qin Feng's Master God's Palace, as well as the 18-floored Hell Pagoda, the Book of Life and Death, the Soul-Repressing Bell, etc., all of these required the use of heavenly abodes or world energy in order to unleash their greatest power. The bronze altar in front of him was undoubtedly a world treasure. For such a treasure to fall into the hands of a corrupt person, it would be like casting pearls before swine. Layden didn't understand the true use of this bronze treasure. If he had fused this treasure into his natal world earlier, Layden might have been able to escape from the Spirit Sea and form his own upper realm. Looking at the bronze treasure in his hand, Qin Feng did not hesitate at all. His 10 fingers intertwined, and a series of hand seals flew out and landed on the bronze altar. Countless handprints danced in the air like a swarm of purple-gold bees, fusing into the bronze altar. The bronze altar glowed brightly, and numerous intertwined rays of light appeared on the bronze altar. Crack! Qin Feng seemed to hear the sound of thunder. The bronze altar was visibly fusing into the world of the Spirit Sea bit by bit like a drop of water. Seeing this, Qin Feng's eyes flashed with a hint of heartache. Fusing such a treasure into his natal world was indeed too extravagant. He might not get anything out of it if he put in the effort, but if he didn't take the risk, he definitely wouldn't get anything out of it. As long as the Spirit Sea has the potential to become an immortal universe, it doesn't matter if it's used up. Qin Feng's eyebrows twitched violently. He closed his eyes and comforted himself. Everything was for the sake of the eternal 19th level. Moments later, the bronze altar disappeared completely, fusing into the world of the Spirit Sea. Silently, Qin Feng sensed that a bronze immortal light appeared in the origin of the world of the Spirit Sea. That light quickly infected the entire origin law. At the same time, an immortal bronze light quietly fused into his body. Almost instantly, Qin Feng felt the primordial law that he had been nurturing fuse into nothing. It turned into a bronze light that fused into the third primordial Tao Lotus. A trace of immortal aura emerged from the primordial Tao Lotus, like a miniature primordial law. Crack! Crack! The sound of a bottleneck breaking sounded like thunder in his ears. A terrifying aura that filled the sky emerged from Qin Feng's body. Amidst the light, the third primordial Tao Lotus seemed to spurt out a beam of light, turning the world of the Spirit Sea into a beam of light and completely fusing with it. An aura that blotted out the sky and was enough to shake the primal chaos was about to burst out from his body. But in an instant, Qin Feng opened his eyes and forcefully suppressed this aura within his body. His eyes were filled with primordial purple qi and a hint of joy flickered. But it only lasted for an instant before calmness was restored. The extremely terrifying aura only appeared for a moment, but many experts in the Spirit Sea seemed to have sensed it. In the Sun Palace, the underworld's earthly monarch mountain, the Greater Thousand-Star Domain, and the Dark Star Domain, the 4 sacred gods glanced in the direction of the Lingshao King Hall with uncertain expressions. Just now they had clearly felt the laws they had grasped shake violently, as if they had suddenly collapsed. However, they had recovered a moment later. Could it be that His Majesty is cultivating some great ability? The 4 were puzzled. As the bronze altar fused into the Spirit Sea, several people clearly sensed a strange and indescribable change. In the center of the primordial chaos world tree, several mysterious modules had appeared in the Master God Hall. Some of the modules that already existed had been directly strengthened, gaining many inconceivable and miraculous effects. In the All-Heaven Space-Time Trading Center, Feng Yi felt it the most directly. She had always been in charge of the All-Heaven Space-Time Trading Center under the Master God Space. She knew the details of all the transactions in the All-Heaven Space-Time Trading Center, as well as all the powers of the trading center. In an instant, she felt a wisp of bronze light surge into the All-Heavens Space-Time Trading Center. In the blink of an eye, the entire All-Heavens Space-Time Trading Center's power seemed to have soared by more than 100 times, with many more unimaginable functions. Many supreme treasures and cultivation methods mysteriously appeared on the All-Heaven Space-Time Trading Center's ranking list. At the same time, her life treasure, the All-Heaven Merit Ranking, was undergoing an extremely strange change. This change made her almost break through to the realm above the Ancestor God realm in a single step. Chapter 1613. 3 months later. Boom. With a loud bang, the two huge upper realms finally collided with each other. In the Spirit Sea, above billions of stars, an invisible hole in the void cracked open, forming a huge space-time crack. A faint aura came from the spacetime crack. Above the galaxy, banners stood in great numbers, and armies gathered from all planes. At this moment, they appeared outside the spacetime crack. Leading them were the 4 holy gods, the Dark Origin Holy God, the Star Venerable, the Holy God of the Underworld Wangdaoi, and even the Holy God of Light, Ancestor Phoenix, who had been ordered to be grounded, appeared in front of the spacetime crack. Below them were the ancestral gods, and among the countless divine lights, there were also divine emperors and divine emperors who stepped on infinite divine lights. On the other side, the 4 worldly immortals of the shrouded universe appeared in another square formation. Since 3 months ago, the Celestial Court had announced that another upper realm was about to collide in the Spirit Sea. Many experts had been waiting for this moment. As the two worlds collided, a part of the crystal wall melted, forming a passage between the two worlds. Seeing this scene, the 8 16th Order experts in front of the gods clearly sensed that a surge of brilliance spread from the intersection of the two worlds through the space-time crack toward the other world. In that surge of brilliance, the gods felt as if their souls were frozen, and they couldn't move their thoughts. Only the 7 overgods behind Qin Feng could feel the changes in the mighty force. World brilliance. Seeing this scene, the 8 16th Order overgods had different expressions in their eyes. The Lord of the Spirit Sea was in charge of the world, so he could naturally mobilize the power of the world. This was something that other overgods couldn't do. Now, there was no doubt that the Lord of the Spirit Sea was using the power of the world of the Spirit Sea to suppress the laws of heaven and earth of the other world, and at the same time, open up and stabilize the world bridge. Many of the experts gradually understood what was going on. For a moment, there was silence at the intersection of the two worlds. Only the space-time crack and the loud roar of the collision of the laws of the two worlds resounded in the sky. A moment later, Qin Feng opened his eyes, and wisps of primordial brilliance flashed past. "Your Majesty, how is it? How is the strength of the other universe?" Yi Fan asked. This was a question that all experts were concerned about. Qin Feng glanced at the crowd and landed in front of the bridge of two worlds that was almost completely stabilized. There was a smile in his eyes as he said with a smile, "The opponent's universe is called the Boundless Universe. It only has a total of 6 innate laws." 6 innate laws? The eyes of many experts lit up. At the same time, he heaved a sigh of relief. Now that the Spirit Sea had 13 heaven's innate laws, the power of the world had far surpassed the opponent's. Just based on this point alone, he had already won half the battle. The vast universe is now dominated by the 4 major races, Qin Feng said. They are the Netherworld Ghost Clan, the 4 Seas Dragon Clan, the Abyss Ice Clan, and the 9 Heavens God Clan. Each of the 4 clans has given birth to an overgod. Aside from the overgods of the 4 clans, there is also the most mysterious level 17 overgod. Among them, the Netherworld Ghost race controls the Netherworld, the 4 Seas Dragon race controls the 4 Seas, the Abyss Ice race has the Endless Abyss as their lair, and the 9 Heavens God race controls the sky and divides the heavens and the earth. As for the human race, which has the largest population, as well as the other 100 races, they are merely the slaves of the 4 races. Using humans as slaves. The eyes of the 4 red dust immortals in Shrouding Sky's realm were filled with murderous intent. The 4 red dust immortals immediately recalled the plight of the human race in the primordial chaos era. They had been bullied by the experts of the 100 races. Countless experts and martyrs had died at the hands of the 100 races. That was an era when the human race's backbone was almost broken. Qin Feng glanced at the 4 red dust immortals in Shrouding Sky's realm. He, Qin Feng, was also a human. Among the 4 clans, the overgod of the 9 Heavens God clan is probably the strongest. He is an innate overgod. Next is the Ice Master of the Abyss Ice clan, who has mastered the innate Frost Law and is also an innate overgod. Next are the Dragon Lord and the Nether Lord, who have mastered the innate Monarch Law and the Netherworld Law. I will personally deal with the level 17 overgod of the boundless universe. As for the remaining 4 overgods, the 7 of you can choose. Qin Feng looked at the 7 overgods. Leave the strongest overgod of the 9 heavens to me. Emperor Wu Shi was the first to speak. Wu Shi, I'll hold the fort for you, Emperor Ruthless said coldly. In that case, leave the Ice Master to me, Yi Fan said. His expression was somewhat eager. Yi Fan, let's work together and kill the Ice Master. Duanda chuckled. Duanda mastered the innate life and death law, while Yi Fan mastered the innate power law. Only an innate overgod could deal with an innate overgod. Apart from the 4 of them, the overgods of the Spirit Sea were all innate overgods. They were restrained by the innate Frost Law and might not be their match. If that's the case, leave the Dragon Lord to me. The Star Lord smiled faintly. Star Venerable, I'll lend you a hand. A young man with a roguish look said darkly. Dark energy surged around him, as if all the dark energy in the universe would be bestowed upon him. The Darkness Origin Saint God. Then leave the remaining Netherworld ghouls and the Nether Lord to me and the Phoenix Ancestor. The earthly sovereign Wang Daoi's eyes sparkled. His innate reincarnation law and Phoenix Ancestor's innate light law could both restrain the Nether Lord's Netherworld law. Phoenix Ancestor's expression did not change. She was like the Darkness Origin Saint God, the Saint God of heaven and earth. She was like the gathering of the universe's light, and her power was immeasurable. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Qin Feng's expression turned solemn. Apart from that, I'll leave the rest of the experts below the overgods and the powerful tribes to you. His gaze fell on the many ancestral gods behind the 8 overgod. We won't disappoint your majesty. All the experts shouted in unison. All of them shone brightly. Qin Feng nodded and smiled. Very well. He then took out a scroll and slowly opened it. Golden brilliance lingered around the scrolls, and boundless golden light emerged from them. Many experts looked over and fixed their eyes on the scrolls. This scroll is the main body of the Heavens Merit Gold Roll. This battle is the battle of the fate of 2 worlds. It's a crisis, but it's also an opportunity. The more beings from the other universe are killed, the weaker the other universe will be. Correspondingly, the Spirit Sea will be strengthened, and the speed of refinement will be faster. Qin Feng waved his sleeve, and the Heavens Merit Gold Roll turned into a golden light that spread across millions of miles. Therefore, I've opened the Gold Roll and opened the Heavens Slaughter Point. The more beings from the other universe are killed, the higher the points will be. The being in the first place will receive the largest share of the extraterritorial world's providence as a reward. The eyes of the experts lit up. The ancestral gods' eyes blazed as if they could pierce through the heavens. The top 10 will each receive an equal share of providence. The 11th to 30th place will be rewarded with various treasures. I hope everyone will work hard. This is a rare opportunity, and it'll depend on your own efforts to seize this opportunity to break through to the overgod level. Chapter 16:14. Providence was the most mysterious of mysteries. Many ancestral gods knew that the fourth origin sacred land of the overgrown forest realm was about to descend. If they could obtain the extraterrestrial providence, they might be able to occupy an origin sacred land like the darkness origin sacred god. This was not only about the ancestral gods' breakthroughs. It was also a great opportunity for many god emperors and god emperors. The rewards for the 2nd to 30th places on the Heaven's Merit Gold leaderboard were also extraordinarily generous. The billions of experts' morale was practically boiling when they saw the leaderboard. Kill! Qin Feng did not waste any more words. His figure flashed as he charged into the vast world with the 8 sacred gods. Rumble! The vast world shook violently as billions of precepts trembled uneasily like wild dragons. They were about to transform into boundless power and completely suppress the 9 gods of the spirit sea realm. Under the suppression of the alternate universe, the 8 overgods, including Qin Feng, felt as if they were carrying divine mountains on their back. Their strength was reduced to less than 10%. Among the 8 overgods, the 4 shrouding immortals, the nether origin sacred god, and the earthly sovereign were already mentally prepared. The light origin sacred god, the darkness origin sacred god, and the master of the stars were entering another void universe for the first time. They immediately felt extremely uncomfortable. Qin Feng, who was in the lead, had an indifferent look on his face. A layer of white light appeared around him, moving along the passageway of the 2 worlds. Everywhere it passed, it instantly filled up the entire world. That was the power of the spirit sea realm. It counteracted the vast world's repulsion and suppression. At the same time, the powerful realm power suppressed the experts of the vast world. The experts of the vast world only felt that their strength was instantly suppressed by a tremendous force and decreased by 30%. Which expert has descended? Why have you invaded our vast world? At that moment, countless dragon roars rang out. An extremely dignified middle-aged overgod suddenly charged out of the boundless ocean beneath his feet. He suddenly appeared in front of many experts. Dragon Lord, this seems to be the extreme of the East Sea of the vast world. It's the territory of the East Sea Eye, one of the 4 sea eyes. Qin Feng immediately reacted. The boundless ocean beneath his feet was vast and boundless. Wasn't this the lair of the dragon tribe, one of the 4 major races of the vast world? The gazes of billions of experts instantly fell upon the overgod that had appeared before them. Dragon Master was a middle-aged man with a tall and sturdy build. He wore a golden dragon robe and had towering dragon horns. His body exuded an immense divine power that could suppress billions of worlds. However, with just one glance, the Dragon Lord was already scared speechless. The vicious words that were about to come out of his mouth became dumbfounded. He saw something. Hundreds of millions of experts continuously rushed out from a huge space-time rift in the depths of the easternmost land. If it was just those hundreds of millions of experts, it wouldn't be enough to make him not dare to move. 9 overgods. Less than 100 paces away, 9 overgods had locked onto him at the same time. This was especially the case for the black-robed master god at the very front. His gaze shifted, and under that terrifying aura, the dragon master felt as if his soul could be destroyed at any moment. Bang! A giant hand appeared out of thin air and slammed down on the immobile dragon lord. His true body collapsed and his primordial spirit was obliterated inch by inch. In the blink of an eye, one of the 5 sovereigns of the vast world, the Dragon Master, had fallen. What an unlucky fellow! Looks like we don't have to do anything. Little Eight's expression darkened as he chuckled. He looked at the Master of the Stars, and a hint of a smile appeared in his eyes. The other 6 sovereigns glanced at the two of them. This Dragon Master was too unlucky. He didn't expect the gods of the Spirit Sea to descend on the territory of the Spirit Sea. People of the Dragon Clan, follow me. Seeing this, the Dragon Emperor of the East Sea, Aoching, stepped forward and shouted at the great river. Follow the Dragon Emperor's orders. The Dragon Clan's deity emperors, god emperors, and ancestral gods all roared in response. The Dragon Emperor of the East Sea's eyes were cold. He drew his weapon and shouted, "Follow me into the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas and reclaim the pseudo-Dragon Palace of the other world." Roar! Roar! Hundreds of millions of dragon roars shook the sea. Millions of divine dragons flew above the East Sea and disappeared into the sea in an instant. Water Fairy Clan, follow my orders. The mother of all waters, Inji, stepped forward. Follow Empress Jellyfish's orders. Millions of experts of the Water Fairy Clan roared in unison. Raging waves surged. Follow me into the various lakes and rivers from the estuary and suppress the demons in the water. Where is the Ice Snow Clan? Where is the Black Tortoise Clan? Experts of the Spirit Clan, follow my orders. As the ancestral gods soared into the sky, huge teams moved out like rolling thunder. Apart from a portion of them guarding the 2-world tunnel, the rest of the experts began to rush out in all directions. Of the 8 sacred gods, 6 of them rushed to the deep abyss ice nest, the netherworld realm, and the 9 heavens spiritual realm. The Master of Stars headed to the 9 heavens sacred lands to reclaim the human dynasty there. The Darkness Origin sacred god suppressed the 2-world tunnel. According to the plan, they rushed to their respective targets. The instant everyone set off, Qin Feng's figure flashed and disappeared from where he stood. When he reappeared, he had already appeared in a dusky place. This was a place where the vast world intersected with the primal chaos. The primal chaos air currents whistled as a palace appeared in front of them. It was like a chain island floating in the primal chaos. There were many immortal palaces, all kinds of divine medicines, and countless beauties, all of them with different temperaments. Some were noble, some were pure, some were petite, some were tall, some were mature and charming, some were sacred and holy, and some were filled with a bewitching charm. They carried a faint trace of meaning. The Spirit Sovereign Palace. Qin Feng smiled faintly. This level 17 expert of the vast world really knew how to enjoy life. Honored guest, why don't you come in for a chat? A faint voice that contained a hint of evilness drifted over from the depths of the island. Suddenly, Qin Feng seemed to see an indescribably handsome young man hugging women on his left and right as he sat on the throne, looking extremely happy. This sovereign has no interest in being a guest in such a vicious place. Chuckling coldly, Qin Feng stretched out a hand and viciously grabbed at the chain island. Under the giant hand, the handsome man surrounded by beauties looked gloomy. Suddenly, the beauties disappeared and fell into his body. The island shattered and was replaced by a divine map. Boundless power flowed out from the divine map and spread out as if the entire vast world was enveloped in it. A mighty power that refined the spirituality of all things swept towards Qin Feng. The innate laws of yin and yang and the innate laws of spirituality intertwined, gathering boundless spirituality within the divine painting and refining billions of void. Very creative. If there comes a day when you can make the decision to let this myriad spirit painting devour the boundless world, I might be able to take a look at you. Unfortunately, the power of your myriad spirit map is far from enough. At least, it's far from enough to deal with me. Qin Feng stood with his hands behind his back and smiled faintly. He stretched out a hand and a wisp of primal chaos purple chi appeared in his palm like a loach and turned into a sparkling purple flying knife, as thin as a cicada's wing. Chapter 16-15. The blade radiance was released instantly. It split the universe and cut off time. Boom! The sky fell and the earth cracked. The myriad spirit diagram above his head was shattered into pieces. The blade radiance locked onto the spiritual paragon. Myriad spirit seal. The spiritual paragon shouted angrily. He formed a seal with one hand. Endless dark light burst out from his palm. It was as if millions of lives were on his palm. Under the blade radiance, the primordial blade was sent flying. However, the primordial blade was too powerful. The blade radiance cut his palm and made it bleed profusely. A level 17 powerhouse was bleeding. The entire chaos seemed to be unable to withstand it and exploded. The spiritual paragon was really terrifying. He was also at the peak of level 17. He had at least 6 strands of primordial purple energy in his body. He had also transformed part of the primordial law. Like Qin Feng, he had refined the vast world and used it as his divine kingdom. If it wasn't for the suppression of the spirit sea world and the suppression of the vast world's power of heaven and earth, an ordinary level 17 powerhouse would have been refined to death by him. Myriad spirit, divine light. The spiritual paragon roared. He sent the primordial blade flying with his palm. He flew down directly. Endless spiritual light rushed down like a ray of light sweeping across the sky. You're courting death. Primordial divine light. Qin Feng sneered. He looked calm. He rushed up and met force with force. The purple divine light split the sky and hit the myriad spirit divine light. Rumble. The chaos collapsed. Time was reversed. The time between the two seemed to collapse. Bang, bang, bang. The myriad spirit divine light was defeated. The myriad spirit divine light that could devour billions of lives was shattered. The spiritual paragon was sent flying. The divine light pierced through his chest. The wound in the center cracked inch by inch. He vomited blood. Even his primordial spirit was severely injured. Qin Feng's comprehension of the primordial law was far beyond the spiritual paragon. The spiritual paragon's eyes turned red. This kind of suppression made him feel humiliated like he had never felt before. Qin Feng's expression was cold as he rushed forward. His fists and palms directly manifested his own grand mist laws. A huge, martial character appeared and entered his palm. It turned into a ray of primordial divine light and swept across the void. Bang, bang, bang. The spiritual paragon roared. His primordial spirit was instantly pierced by the divine light and his body exploded. Boom. The ruler of the world had fallen. The entire boundless world shook violently, as if in mourning. With a flash of divine light, Qin Feng's figure appeared. He danced in the air, his eyes as cold as knives. After the spiritual paragon was killed, the resistance of the vast expanse world disappeared almost instantly. In an instant, the spirit sea world took the opportunity to refine more than half of it. Victory! High in the sky, in the depths of the 9 heavens spirit world, Emperor No Beginning and Emperor Ruthless were teaming up against a 9 heavens over God. The 9 heavens master gods had mastered the primordial chaos law of the primordial chaos law. They were extremely difficult to deal with. Innate primordial origin energy circulated, exchanging defensive and offensive power. It was exceptionally terrifying. The 9 heavens spirit world was shaken. Wu Shi Great Monarch and Ruthless Great Monarch were unable to gain the upper hand. The difference was obvious. The 9 heavens master gods achieved their Tao much earlier than Monarch Wu Shi and Monarch Li Li. Although Emperor No Beginning and Emperor Ruthless were incredibly talented, they were still incomplete over gods. The innate laws they grasped were naturally flawed. There were many wounds on their bodies that were difficult to heal. However, as the spirit sea world refined more than half of the vast expanse world, the situation changed completely. The 9 heavens master god, who was fighting Emperor No Beginning and Emperor Ruthless, paled. In an instant, his aura dropped to half of his peak. At the same time, Emperor No Beginning and Emperor Ruthless felt a warm aura surge from the vast expanse world into their bodies. Their auras soared by more than 20%. Boom! A deafening explosion rang out. In just a few moves, the 9 Heavens Master God's body exploded into pieces. His primordial spirit was obliterated, and he died for good. In the Nether-Een world, hundreds of millions of ghosts were besieged by the Nether God clan experts. The Nether God battle formations manifested one Nether treasure after another, devouring the ghosts. Although the Nether-Een world of the vast expanse world was the final destination of all living beings after death, there was no place for reincarnation. The number of Ghost Clan experts here was not an ordinary number. The experts of the Nether God clan and the Ghost God clan formed a battle formation and devoured the ghost. Their faces glowed with health, and their soul power flowed through their bodies. Their strength soared. After the 9 Heavens Divine Master's death, the weakest Nether Lord soon followed in his footsteps. The acquired Nether Law was greatly restrained by the acquired Reincarnation Law and the acquired Light Law. The earthly sovereign's reincarnation divine light instantly shattered the Nether Lord's soul. Inside the ice cave of the abyss in the ice nest, Yi Fan and Duan De worked together to fight the Ice Master. It was a blue-robed man who looked to be in his 20s. He had a valiant figure and time left no trace on him. He was extremely handsome, but his eyes were cold. The innate freezing power froze the myriad of worlds, the mountains and rivers, the sky, time and space, and time. It was extremely terrifying. Duanda stood at the front. Countless black and white energies of life and death swirled around him, forming a black and white Taiji diagram. The innate freezing power that could freeze all worlds made it difficult for him to unleash his full power. Yi Fan stood at the back. The 9 secret words combined into one, and he raised an immortal cauldron as if he wanted to pierce through the ages. Countless ice shards were blasted into dust. The Ice Master held a long banner in her hand. The banner exuded the energy of an innate spiritual treasure. It was an innate spiritual treasure nurtured by the innate freezing power. Just a slight wave was enough to freeze everything and turn billions of worlds into the frozen underworld. The two sides were clearly in a stalemate. The Ice Master couldn't kill the enemy, and Yi Fan and Duan De couldn't kill her in a short time. Yi Fan and Duan De needed an opportunity. And that opportunity arrived very quickly. As the Ice Master's aura was suppressed to 50%, Duan De's Taiji diagram of innate life and death instantly pierced through the innate freezing banner's freezing power. Yi Fan's 9 secret words combined into one, and a peerless divine art that could pierce through all things was unleashed. The Ice Master's Yuan Shun exploded. Her Yuan Shun completely shattered, but it couldn't be killed. Neither of them had mastered the laws below the innate termination stage. Yi Fan could only manifest the immortal cauldron and suppress the Ice Master. The overgods of the 4 races were defeated, killed, or suppressed one after another. The forces of the 4 races were dispersed by the 6 overgods. A small portion of them surrendered, but the majority were killed by the allied forces. They were turned into slaughter points and used as proof to exchange for treasures. Many experts of the vast world were defeated. Their elites were killed and plundered. Their resistance grew weaker and weaker. In a short time, the world power of the Spirit Sea continued to refine more than 80% of the vast world. Rumble. It was as if the universe was collapsing in the void. There seemed to be several rays of light working together to blast through the chaos and force their way into the vast world. At that moment, whether it was the experts of the boundless world or the 8 overgods of the Spirit Sea world, they all raised their heads and looked at the sky. Qin Feng sneered in the void. As expected, the experts of the Origin Divine world couldn't sit still any longer and had arrived. Chapter 1616. The Doomsday King, the Purple Jade Dragon Lord, and the Primordial Ancestor Phoenix. They were all familiar faces. There was no need to mention the Doomsday King. The Purple Jade Dragon Lord had also sent someone to deliver a message, threatening and bribing. Evil creature, I'll give you one last chance. Submit to me and hand over your spiritual sea to my dragon race, and I'll spare your life. The Purple Jade Dragon Lord was like a ray of purple light descending from the sky. She was lofty and lofty, like a supreme will descending from the clouds. Her gaze fell on the millions of experts in the boundless world, and there was a strange light in her eyes. There were so many experts, and there was no lack of existences with the potential to break through to the Master God realm. If they fell into her hands, the dragon race's strength would increase greatly in a short time. The Doomsday King and the primordial ancestor Phoenix were expressionless, as if the Purple Jade Dragon Lord was their leader. Evil creature? Qin Feng was slightly taken aback, but a trace of coldness appeared on his face in the next second. Bitch, do you think you have my spiritual sea under your control? Bitch? The Doomsday King and the primordial ancestor Phoenix looked at the Purple Jade Dragon Lord with a strange expression, and a cold sneer flashed across their faces. The Purple Jade Dragon Lord's almond-shaped eyes were filled with killing intent. Ever since she became the leader of the Dragon Lords in the Chaos Ninth District and broke through to the Grand Mist Holy God realm, no one had dared to be so rude to her. Never. Qin Feng, do you really think you can go against me just because you control the spiritual sea? Today, I'll not only suppress you on the spot, but I'll also let you watch with your own eyes as everything of yours falls into my hands. The Purple Jade Dragon Lord's tone was neither fast nor slow, as if she was looking at prey in a cage, fighting like a trapped beast. The stronger you are, the more arrogant you are. Qin Feng shook his head. The Purple Jade Dragon Lord's eyes were cold, and she could no longer suppress the anger in her heart. Kill. The Purple Jade Dragon Lord directly attacked. Boundless purple light turned into a crystalline blade light as thin as a cicada's wings in her hand. The sharp blade light slashed down on Qin Feng's head. Emperor World-Conquering Fist. Qin Feng too struck out with a tremor fist. Vaguely, there seemed to be millions upon millions of living beings, boundless space-time, and the light of the heavens and earth ignited as the fist blasted out. With a boom, the Purple Jade Dragon Lord's blade light was shattered. On the other side, the ancient Phoenix descended, and the Lord of Doom appeared on the other side, cutting off Qin Feng's path of retreat. The instant the three Grand Mist Holy Gods' true bodies appeared in front of the tunnel, the 8 Master Gods led the various races' experts to retreat in the direction of the Spirit Sea. Even some of the experts who were fighting with other clans gave up on their opponents and flew into the World Bridge at the pole of the East Sea, leaving quickly through the World Bridge. The Apocalypse Lord's expression was somewhat gloomy. He originally wanted to find some of Qin Feng's subordinates to vent his anger. Who would have thought that these fellows would be so alert and alert? However, as long as they killed the ruler of the Spirit Sea, the experts in the Spirit Sea would be meat in their mouth. Rumble. With a deafening boom, Qin Feng's fist technique seemed to contain the roars of billions of living beings. Once again, he sent the Purple Jade Dragon Lord flying with a punch. In the middle of the collision, the universe shattered, millions of miles of mountains and rivers crumbled, and endless time seemed to flow in reverse. Purple Jade Dragon Lord, it seems like you just had a round with a few hundred male idols. Your legs are weak and you can't exert any strength. After sending the Purple Jade Dragon Lord flying with another punch, Qin Feng's aura rose sharply, suppressing the Purple Jade Dragon Lord. The radiance around the Purple Jade Dragon Lord's body dissipated, and the hazy divine light disappeared, revealing a beautiful face. She was beautiful, and her petite figure resembled a 15-year-old youth. Her snow-white face exuded a domineering aura, and her eyes were filled with killing intent. "Thousand dragon devouring body!" As she shouted, a purple dragon rushed out from her body. This was the Grand Mist Law she had used to break through to the 18th Order, the innate Purple Dragon Law. The purple dragon roared, as if it could swallow the world. Qin Feng felt a sense of fear from the boundless world's origin energy. The purple dragon opened its mouth and swallowed the boundless world's origin energy. At the same time, Qin Feng felt as if he had fallen into the purple dragon's mouth. So, this is the innate law you comprehended, the innate purple dragon law, devouring 10,000 worlds. What a big appetite! Qin Feng sneered. However, your strength is suppressed by the boundless world, spirit sea world, and shrouding heavens world. How much can you devour? Qin Feng roared at the sky, and the three worlds' origin energy entered his body. His entire body turned into a ray of divine light that rushed into the purple dragon's mouth. The terrifying purple divine light pierced through the purple dragon's body. Roar! The purple jade dragon lord empathized with the innate purple dragon law's origin energy, and it couldn't help but roar in pain. It was as if thunder had struck its ears, and a small crack appeared on the grand mist godhead in its body. It was heavily injured. The strength of the three higher worlds' origin energy was beyond any grand mist holy god's imagination. Qin Feng turned into a ray of light that gathered the three worlds' origin energy, occupying the absolute home ground advantage, and his god force was earth-shattering. At this time, the boundless world was Qin Feng's god domain. In the god domain, the master god was invincible. The master god was the one who made the rules, the only one who could control life and death. Enveloped by the god domain, the purple jade dragon lord was greatly suppressed. Whether it was its reaction speed, various abilities, or even its innate law's power, everything was suppressed to a terrifying degree. A ray of divine light slashed down, and the purple jade dragon lord was dismembered. Its delicate and beautiful face, and its snow-white arm, were blasted into 1,000 pieces. His strength has improved a step. After merging the three worlds' origin energy, the quantitative change has broken through the qualitative change. We are no longer his opponent here. Seeing this scene, the ancient phoenix ancestors' faces sank. This time they had miscalculated again. Qin Feng's speed in subduing the boundless world was too fast. In less than half a day, the boundless world's master gods were all killed, and even the 17th Order expert was killed. The death of a high-level expert was equivalent to a world's backbone being severed. In addition, more than half of its inhabitants were killed by the spirit sea world's violent bombardment. The boundless world had no power to resist. It was like a group of weak mountain people under the knife of a bandit. The Apocalypse Lord's face was gloomy, and his eyes were filled with bone-deep hatred. He watched as Qin Feng grew stronger bit by bit, while he, the Grand Mist Holy God, could only watch helplessly. This kind of humiliation made his heart erupt like a volcano, and his anger was about to explode. Qin Feng had heavily injured the purple jade dragon lord, but he did not kill it. Instead, he stepped on it. His figure was like a beam of light, like a giant dragon stomping on the ground. His foot landed heavily on the beautiful head of the purple jade dragon lord, stomping heavily on the ground. Rumble! The entire ground trembled under this tremendous force. Qin Feng's coldness didn't change from the beginning to the end. He stepped on the beautiful head of the violet jade dragon lord and coldly looked at the Apocalypse Lord, the ancient phoenix ancestor. His eyes were high, unexcelled in the world. Want to run? Chapter 16-17. The purple jade dragon lord was about to go crazy. Being stepped on by a 17th stage powerhouse was a humiliation she had never experienced before. Her beautiful face was distorted, and resentment condensed into a solid curse above her head, entangling Qin Feng. Qin Feng didn't care. He didn't know why, but when he saw the purple jade dragon lord, even the fearless Apocalypse Lord felt a trace of sadness and depression. The fox grieves for the rabbit's death. The Grand Mist Holy God roamed the boundless chaos. He was known as the Emperor of the Great Thousand Worlds. He was the peak existence in the 33 upper world. But in the end, he still couldn't transcend the 33 upper worlds. Once he entered the other 33 upper worlds, he would inevitably be restricted. Perhaps only a 19th stage powerhouse, who had condensed the myriad worlds' origin laws, could ignore the restrictions of the 33 upper world. Apocalypse Lord, Phoenix Ancestor, we're still waiting for you. With us three Grand Mist Holy Gods joining forces, not only will Qin Feng not be able to escape, but the entire Spirit Sea world will be ours. The Purple Jade Dragon Lord roared, inviting the Apocalypse Lord and Phoenix Ancestor to attack. The Apocalypse Lord and Phoenix Ancestor hesitated. The Grand Mist Holy Gods controlled the Grand Mist laws, which were second only to the myriad worlds' origin laws. Their ability to adapt to the otherworldly laws was far stronger than the innate laws grasped by a 17th stage powerhouse. They only needed a short period of time to familiarize themselves with the otherworldly laws. The two of you stay behind as well. Qin Feng was cold and directly attacked. He lifted the Purple Jade Dragon Lord with one foot, and the divine light in his hand sealed the Purple Jade Dragon Lord's head. At the same time, he used his divine domain to suppress the Apocalypse Lord and Phoenix Ancestor. His figure was like a ray of light, and a purple divine sword that could destroy all things appeared. It tore through space and slashed towards the Apocalypse Lord and Phoenix Ancestor. The void was split into two, and the universe was severed. The Apocalypse Lord and Phoenix Ancestors' expressions changed, and they instantly made up their minds. Qin Feng, one day you will fall into my hands. The Apocalypse Lord's sinister voice resounded through the sky. Rumble. A portion of the vast boundless world's space-time shattered. The Apocalypse Lord and ancient Phoenix Ancestor turned into two streams of light that passed through the space-time crack and flew out of the vast boundless world. As soon as they rushed out of the boundless world, their auras increased by more than 10 times. Terrifying primordial laws shook the primal chaos. Qin Feng's figure appeared at the edge of the space-time crack. He looked at the Lord of Apocalypse outside the boundless world, the ancient Phoenix Ancestor. Little bastard, come out if you have the guts. From afar, the furious voice of the Apocalypse Lord could be heard. Qin Feng's expression was cold and indifferent. The Grand Mist Holy God, who had entered the 33 heavens upper worlds, was a completely different concept from the Grand Mist Holy God, who had been in the primal chaos. Although he was confident that he could beat the Doomsday Lord into a dead dog, there was no need for him to reveal his full strength. It was visible to the naked eye. The essence of the vast expanse world surged, and the torn space and time rapidly recovered. In just a few moments, the forcefully torn apart crystal walls were completely restored. He actually failed. In the primal chaos, the various god systems who had been pacing back and forth outside the Spirit Sea, waiting to get a share of the pie, looked at this scene in a daze. The Purple Jade Dragon Lord, the Apocalypse Lord, and the ancient Phoenix Ancestor had joined forces to attack the vast expanse world, but they were actually chased out. It seemed like the Purple Jade Dragon Lord had yet to escape from the vast expanse world. At this moment, the various god systems experts in the primal chaos swallowed a mouthful of saliva and looked at each other. They could see the same trace of shock and astonishment in the eyes of many experts. Dragon Lord? If the various god systems master gods were shocked and astonished, the Eastern Dragon Tribe's experts in the Origin God world were at a loss for what to do. The sky was about to collapse. The Purple Jade Dragon Lord was the Eastern Dragon Tribe's guardian expert. After losing the Purple Jade Dragon Lord, it wouldn't be long before the Eastern Dragon Tribe fell apart. In a distant corner, 3 existences with boundless divine light looked in the direction of the Spirit Sea in a daze. At this time, the Spirit Sea god system was quite strange. It was like a 3-section gourd. The shrouding heaven world was on the left, the Spirit Sea world was in the middle, and the vast expanse world was on the right. It was like 3 interlocked rings, and the power rippled out was earth-shattering, shaking the primal chaos. I'm afraid that the Spirit Sea Lord's cultivation level has already reached the peak of the 17th level. If not, even if he completely controlled the three worlds, he wouldn't be able to chase the Apocalypse Lord and the others out so quickly. The Sway Sovereign of the Sway Sovereign Celestial System sighed. As expected of the peerless expert in the primal chaos, who is said to be on par with the Eastern Baron. As he spoke, he glanced at the Eastern Baron Master God. Peak of the 17th level? The primal chaos Taoist pondered and shook his head. I'm afraid it's not the peak of the 17th level. You mean? The Sway Sovereign and the Eastern Baron Great Emperor's expressions changed, and they couldn't hide the shock on their faces. That shouldn't be possible. If he broke through that level, the Apocalypse Lord and the ancient Phoenix ancestor might not be able to escape. The Sway Sovereign shook his head, and his eyes flashed with intense disbelief. Furthermore, the 18th level isn't that easy to break through. In order to create an innate law of primordial chaos, one would need a vast accumulation of knowledge and ingenious planning. The Sway Sovereign found it hard to believe that someone could break through the 18th level in just a few thousand years. If the 16th level Saint God was said to be difficult to break through in the boundless great thousand worlds, there were countless geniuses and monarch-level experts. Then even in a chaos era, the primal chaos sea, and the numerous 33 heavens upper realms, it would be difficult for a Saint God to appear. On the other side, the Apocalypse Lord shouted for a long time, but when he saw that the boundless world remained silent, his face turned pale with anger. The ancient Phoenix ancestor looked at the scene coldly. Her expression was indifferent, unlike the Apocalypse Lord's rage. Looking in the direction of the boundless world, she felt that there was something wrong with the Spirit Sea Lord. But what exactly was wrong? She couldn't figure it out. But it was undeniable that the Spirit Sea Lord had the power to threaten the primal chaos Saint God. Although they were wary, the gods didn't retreat immediately. Instead, as time passed, more and more gods appeared around the Spirit Sea. A huge upper realm formed by 3 upper realms, and the benefits it contained were too tempting. With such a huge cake in hand, no matter which primal chaos Saint God it would allow the entire god system to develop by leaps and bounds, and its strength would increase exponentially. Not to mention, there was something fishy about it. It contained supreme treasures, and it might even be the next fate node in the primal chaos sea. If it was any other upper realm, they wouldn't be able to hold on. The Spirit Sea world had the inescapable net, but it wasn't afraid of being infiltrated by any god system. Chapter 16:18. After refining the boundless world, the inescapable net had extended over. It wasn't just the vast expanse world. The shrouded heaven world's inescapable net had already completed its initial infiltration. Although the experts of the shrouded heaven world had not entered the Spirit Sea, they could still use the inescapable net and the various subnets below it, such as the All Heavens Space-Time Trading Center and DreamNet, to conduct transactions. In the shrouded heaven world, at this time, there were countless martial arts holy lands and martial arts academies, like bamboo shoots after the rain, popping up one after another. In just 400 or 500 years, all kinds of martial arts academies had been established in every life-ancient star. However, the strongest martial Tao holy lands were still those old martial Tao holy land. Spiritual Ruins Holy Ground, Wavering Light Holy Ground, Void Holy Ground, Purple Mansion Holy Ground, 9 Heavens Holy Ground, 4 Symbols Holy Ground, 9 Heavens Holy Ground, Sky Demon Holy Ground, Kunlun Holy Ground, Great Thunderclap Temple Holy Ground, and so on. However, the 4 great sacred grounds were still the sacred ground of no beginning, the sacred ground of heavenly court, the sacred ground of underworld, and the sacred ground of heaven devouring. The 4 great universal holy lands encompassed the north, south, east, west, and north star field. Countless geniuses had joined the 4 great universal holy lands, and they all possessed supreme inheritances that allowed them to become immortals in the mortal world. This was especially true for the heavenly court. Yi Fan, the heavenly emperor, had a large number of emperors under his command. Many of them were qualified to become immortals in the mortal world. As the laws of heaven and earth reached perfection, there were already people taking steps towards the worldly immortal. Inside the heavenly court, the holy prince, Dao Yi Zhang Byron, Six-Eared Macaque, Yi Tong, Yang Shi, Hua Hua, Jiang Tingting, Shen Hua Yi Xian, and the others were gathered. "Little monk, what are you doing here, instead of staying in your great thunderclap temple?" At the side, an arrogant big black dog glanced at the flower monk with disdain in its eyes. The flower monk had a benevolent look on his face. Amidst the huge pure divine Buddhist light around him, there seemed to be golden lotuses and Bodhi divine trees. Billions of Buddhist light shone upon the world. Although the little monk looked handsome and young, he was actually the Buddha of the Western Great Thunderclap Temple. Floey had a great background. She had once obtained the true teachings of the ancestor of all Buddhas, Amitabha. She was the direct disciple of Heavenly Emperor Yi Fan. The Buddhist ancestor chuckled. "Eat dog meat. I heard that a large black dog that has cultivated for several million years has become a quasi-emperor." "You little monk, you're thinking of taking advantage of this ancestor's grandchildren again." The large black dog was furious. With a swipe of his claw, Chaos actually tumbled. "All right, stop messing around," Yi Fan said calmly from the main seat. Behind him, there were several beautiful goddesses. Some were holy and pure, some were cold like fairies, and some were noble and elegant. Many of the experts present had their gazes fixed on the women. From time to time, they would feel a little excited. They were Yi Fan's girlfriends. They had either died or passed away, but the Spirit Sea Lord had used a peerless divine art to break the river of time and resurrect them with unparalleled power. Now that the vast expanse world has been conquered, I've contributed a lot, and obtained the vast expanse world's destiny. It's not much, but it's enough for one of you to break through to the mortal realm. Above his palm, a ball of dense light gradually appeared. Within the light, a purple-gold cylinder appeared. The destiny took form, and it was so dense that it was almost solid. It had turned into a golden fortune pearl. Yi Fan glanced at the several peak Emperor Dao expert. The Black Emperor, Pangbo Zhang Wenchang, the Sacred Prince, Dao Yi Zhang Byron, Six-Eared Macaque, Yi Tong, Yang Shi, Hua Hua, Jiang Tingting, Shen Hua Yi Xian, Zhang Qingyang, and Xiao Song. To be honest, these people all had the potential to become mortal realm immortals. Especially now that the laws of heaven and earth were rapidly perfecting and manifesting, they were improving rapidly. Everyone was moved. The opportunity to become a mortal realm immortal was not something that could be obtained easily. Yi Fan had transformed 9 times in a life and death situation before he finally completed the final transformation and became a mortal realm immortal. Emperor Wu Shi, Emperor Ruthless, and the Taoist priest, Duan De, all of them had almost died before they reached the extreme Tao ascension. Looking at this ball of destiny, everyone was moved. "I don't need this ball of destiny." It was just a glance. Hua Hua shook her head slightly and looked away. It was as if the golden fortune pearl was just a pile of bones to her. Hua Hua's Zen heart was indeed amazing. "I just became a great emperor not long ago. This ball of destiny is of limited use to me." Zhang Wenchang, the Wenchang Emperor, said with a smile. He was very calm. "Leave it to the Black Emperor." Yi Tong, Yang Shi, Hua Hua, Jiang Tingting, Shen Hua Yi Xian, Zhang Qingyang, Xiao Song, and the others said almost at the same time. The Black Emperor was moved. "You all on the main seat." Yi Fan's gaze fell on the Black Emperor's head. Although this big black dog was cunning, he was indeed the most suitable to refine the golden fortune pearl. He had followed Emperor Wu Shi for countless years and had been influenced by him. He had also gone through several life and death situations with him. Although his talent was not as good as the Taoist physiques, sacred physiques, and divine physiques present, his foundation was the most profound. In that case, keep it well, Black Emperor. If you can become the fifth mortal realm immortal, perhaps the ruler will give you another great opportunity. After saying that, Yi Fan tossed the golden fortune pearl to the Black Emperor. A black paw grabbed the golden bead of fortune. The large black dog glanced at the little ones, and a drop of crystal flashed across its eyes. After a moment it muttered softly, "Don't worry. What a bunch of idiot. It's such a good thing and you're pushing it around. You're letting the patriarch take advantage of it. He's so touched that he's about to cry." Huahua muttered. "Who's crying?" The big black dog put away the golden fortune pearl and was furious. He slapped Huahua's bald head with his paw, and sparks flew everywhere. Huahua did not care and chuckled. However, the big black dog's chuckle only became angrier. Everyone smiled slightly. "All right, you all should go into seclusion now." On the main seat, Yi Fan paused and said, "You can also choose to go to the boundless world. Right now, the great celestial lords are refining the earth, water, wind, and fire element. You can choose to go and watch the ceremony. This is also a rare opportunity. Not only the heavenly court's sacred grounds, but the other sacred grounds of the shrouded sky realm and the various races of the Spirit Sea also knew that the Spirit Sea ruler was reconnecting the earth, water, wind, and fire elements of the boundless world. There was also another wave of splitting. The boundless world was turned into a pile of ruins after the battle between the primordial chaos holy gods. A portion of the races entered a part of the Spirit Sea world through the opening of the ocean between the two worlds. There were also some races that were unwilling to leave, but they had already become history. The Spirit Sea world grew abnormally fast after devouring two huge upper worlds. There were many chaotic continents floating above the five seas, and a few of them were extremely large. Some experts of the races in the boundless world chose a huge desolate continent floating above the endless sea. Chaotic energy filled the place, and it was filled with primeval aura. The immigrants of the boundless world occupied this place, and called this desolate continent the Boundless Continent. They wanted to commemorate the boundless world of the past and rebuild races, kingdoms, and dynasties here. Chapter 16-19. There were many immigrant races in the boundless world, including the four great races of the boundless world: the Abyss Ice Tribe, the Nether Ghoul Tribe, the Four Seas Dragon Tribe, and the Nine Heavens God Tribe. However, on the boundless world, humans made up the majority of the population. Moreover, their circumstances were completely reversed. The human dynasty of the Middle Ground immediately submitted to the humans of the Spirit Sea world, greatly increasing their power. On the other hand, the Abyss Ice Tribe, the Nether Ghoul Tribe, the Four Seas Dragon Tribe, and the Nine Heavens God Tribe lost their overgods. Without the support of the Spirit Sea world, they became the targets of enslavement. The Four Seas Dragon Tribe hoped to submit to the Spirit Sea Dragon Tribe. Unfortunately, the Spirit Sea Dragon Tribe did not take a liking to them and was still accepting them. The Nether Ghoul Tribe found their next home, but it was not voluntary. Some of the Nether Ghouls found that after entering the Spirit Sea, their race began to decline. This decline was very strange. At first, the Nether Ghoul Tribe elites were terrified. However, as the number of times increased, they realized. Soon, they were involuntarily entering the underworld through the yin-yang reincarnation. Some of them were full of karma and fell directly into the 18 levels of hell, where they were tortured by evil spirits. Some of the Nether Ghoul Tribe elites tried to stay in the Spirit Sea, but they had to face the pursuit of many ghost gods and underworld gods. For a time, they could only flee and avoid being hunted. However, under the pursuit of many powerful underworld gods and ghost gods, this kind of hiding could not last for long. After 100 years, the Nether Ghoul Tribe became a legend in the boundless world, and their race disappeared. The Abyss Ice Tribe was lucky to be valued by an ancestral god of the Antarctic ice-hail continent. The entire Abyss Ice Tribe was integrated into the Ice-Hail continent's Ice-Hail Tribe. They became a branch of the Ice-Hail Tribe and were quickly assimilated. Because the 9 Heavens God tribe members were all handsome and beautiful, and their bloodline contained the 9 Heavens pure chi, they were coveted by some powerful evil races in the Spirit Sea. After 100 years of development, the boundless world quickly became a continent dominated by humans. It also became a famous main continent of the Endless Ocean. It became the center of the Endless Ocean and was valued by many elites and factions. Gradually, the major forces of the Endless Ocean began to establish their own sects and branches in the Greyweed continent. As the lost tribes of the Greyweed continent merged into the Spirit Sea world could be considered to have completely digested the enormous benefits of merging with the Greyweed world. Regardless of whether it was the various races or the origin of the Spirit Sea world, they had all taken a huge step forward. At this moment, even a small mountain in the center of the Spirit Sea was filled with spirit veins. Outside of the Spirit Sea, in the depths of the Endless Sea, the gray space there had already been broken, connecting to the East Sea of the vast world. As the master of the Endless Ocean, the mother of all rivers, Inji, had obtained great benefits. In one fell swoop, the Endless Sea surpassed the other 4 seas, and became the largest, widest, and most abundant of the 5 seas. At this moment, in the boundless world, countless great beings had gathered at the edge of the Endless Sea. Above the huge sea, at the edge of the boundless world, 8 figures had gathered. The 4 immortals of shrouding heaven and red dust, the 3 origin saint gods of the Spirit Sea world, the light origin saint god, the darkness origin saint god, the nether origin saint god, and the master of stars were all present. In addition to the 8 saint gods, they had also brought many personal disciples and descendants. For example, under Yi Fan's command were the Black Emperor, Pang Bo Zhang Wenchang, the Sacred Prince, Dao Yi Zhang Byron, Six-Eared Macaque, Yi Tong, Yang Shi, Hua Hua, Jiang Tingting, Shen Hua Yi Xian, Zhang Qingyang, Shao Song, and others. Under Duanda's command were a group of ghost gods from the underworld. The 4 shrouding heaven immortal subordinates weren't a big deal, but the 4 origin saint gods each had their own clans and clans. Their divine light was as vast as the sea, and their numbers were so great that some of the 4 shrouding heaven immortal subordinates couldn't help but raise their eyebrows. Such a huge number of experts was shocking. There were also some powerful ancestral gods who had heard the news and rushed to the edge of the Endless Sea. Leading them was the jellyfish Inji of the Endless Sea's sacred ground. As the existence that controlled the sea eye of the Endless Sea and the master of the sacred ground, Inji's cultivation base had already begun to touch the realm of the red dust immortal. This was due to the part of the cultivation method of the shrouding heaven world that she had exchanged. The extreme Dao transformation method of the shrouding heaven world had greatly benefited some ancestral gods. Some ancestral gods had benefited greatly, and Inji was one of the experts who had benefited the most. She had already touched the path of the red dust immortal. On the side were the strongest experts of the various clans, such as the current patriarch of the Dragon Clan, the Dragon Emperor of the East Sea, Ao Qing. Behind him, a group of elders of the Dragon Clan were surging with divine light. Behind them were the patriarch of the Spirit Clan, Crown Prince Tsangqiong. There were also many experts from the Spirit Clan, and more than half of the dozen wood ancestors had come. Behind them was the Master of Sword Dao, Duguxia. This Master of Sword Dao's strength was not inferior to Inji, and it was even rumored that he had touched the realm of the Red Dust Immortal a few years ago. The number of Sword Dao was not many, but each of them had a sword bone, and their sword will seem to be able to tear the sky apart, especially the Lifeless Sword Master and Primitive Sword Saint, the 2 new ancestral gods of the Sword Dao. The Lifeless Sword Master was known as the ancestral god of assassination, and his assassination art of the sword Tao was earth-shattering. The primitive sword saint was also a legendary figure. It was said that he was once from the same sect and academy as the Spirit Sea Overlord. In the early days, he was not outstanding, but he sharpened his sword for 10 years. The primitive sword saint had been sharpening his sword for thousands of years, and he shone in the battle of the boundless world some time ago. In the vast world, there were quite a number of ancestor gods who had been slain by him. When the sword moved, the world moved. The world sword Tao that he had created had become a branch of the sword Tao, and it was not inferior to the lifeless sword sect. Other than the sword Tao, there were also the great demon gods of the demon Tao. The leader was the heavenly demon emperor, who was an extremely terrifying figure. In the battle of the boundless world, nearly half of the living beings in the boundless world were devoured by the great demon gods of the demon Tao. The existence of these branches called themselves the sharp blades of the Spirit Sea, and each of them was extremely crazy and paranoid. To be able to control so many paranoid and crazy people, it was enough to show what kind of person the Heavenly Demon Emperor was. The Heavenly Demon Emperor was also known as one of the experts in the Spirit Sea who was closest to the 16th rank Holy God realm. Other than the Heavenly Demon Emperor of the Demon Tao, there were also many ancestral gods who came. For example, the 8 celestial lords of the celestial court, the mansion masters of the various prefectures, and some extremely powerful existences of the sacred grounds, such as Merciless Ancestral God, Taishang Ancestral God, Qilin Ancestral God, Black Tortoise Ancestral God, Tianxian Ancestral God, Zhan Ancestral God, Zhenwu Ancestral God, Tianin Ancestral God, Xianin Ancestral God, and so on. Many experts came to observe the ceremony. When the heavens and earth were reopened, it was the opportunity of the great Tao. Chapter 1620. Other than the ancestral gods, there were also the divine concubines. In the center, there were countless goddesses in the divine light. They were in a few square formations like stars surrounding them. The atmosphere between the divine concubines was subtle, but in terms of momentum, the 2 square formations were the most powerful. One was the Hell Gods, with the Hell Ancestral God as the leader. The many Hell evil gods were filled with the aura of iron and blood. The other one was surrounded by a vast and mighty golden light. Rays of golden light surrounded her, and a graceful and noble figure appeared. She had an incomparable majesty, and her bearing was unparalleled. Countless experts from the God of Fortune residence were guarding it. The God of Fortune residence controlled the All Heavens Spacetime Trading Center and had deep connections to various worlds. They were rich and powerful. Other than these 2 square formations, the other divine concubines were not simple people either. They each had great wealth. Divine concubine Silver Moon had the experts of the Silver Moon clan, as well as some underworld gods and giants. The divine concubines of Light and Darkness had the support of the entire demon clan. The various demon clans had a good relationship with them. Divine concubine twin by Yenner also had the support of some Archean expert. By Emperor of the Archean era was a very famous figure among the Archean experts. He had a wide circle of friends. After the Spirit Sea divine system, countless Archean era antiques had joined the Spirit Sea divine system through the Bai family. Some experts from the immemorial era had gradually gained a foothold in the god system over the years, and they had more or less a favorable impression of the Bai family. Especially the 2 brothers of divine concubine twin, the Metal Emperor and the Chaos Demon Emperor. They were both first-class experts. The Chaos Demon Emperor belonged to the demon path, and was second only to the Heavenly Demon Emperor. The Metal Emperor controlled the Metal God residence, and had a lot of influence in the divine system. Then there were the Siren Divine Concubine, the Tai Su Divine Concubine, and the Iron Blood Divine Concubine. Compared to the Siren Divine Concubine and the Tai Su Divine Concubine, The supporters of the iron-blood divine concubine were undoubtedly shocking. His strength was so strong that it made people raise their eyebrows. Divine generals in silver armor filled the sky with divine light and murderous aura. They were extremely powerful war generals. Almost every one of them had been through hundreds of battles. They are the elites of the heavenly soldiers. Someone whispered. Their eyes glanced at them occasionally and a faint shock flashed. Many experts of the divine system gasped in admiration. This iron-blooded concubine didn't get her position by fighting for favor. She got her position by fighting for it with her own soldiers and swords and spears. Among the many iron-blooded warriors, a beautiful woman with bright eyes and white teeth appeared. She wore a phoenix bun on her head and was clad in silver-white armor. She was tall and slender, valiant, domineering, and dignified. There was also a hint of laziness and charm. Iron-blood divine concubine Yu Yao. She could be said to be the most famous divine concubine of the Spirit Sea divine system in the past few thousand years. Among the many experts, many divine ladies looked at the iron-blooded divine consort enviously, who was surrounded by so many divine generals. Don't be fooled by the fact that this iron-blood divine consort was coquettish and weak. Her strength was only at the Emperor God realm. However, in the past few thousand years, there were thousands of powerful planes that had fallen into her hand. She was known as the famous Iron Blood Empress. Even in Shrouding Heaven realm, there were many experts of the younger generation who looked at this beautiful and wise legendary woman with admiration. In this area, many experts who were familiar with each other whispered and discussed. Several divine concubines who were on good terms with each other also came forward to talk. Yu Yao's gaze fell on the Hell Ancestor God. She was not close to the other divine concubines, but she was close to Red Lotus. Nominally, she was Red Lotus' personal maid. When she was studying at All Stars College, she had always served Red Lotus, and had not been estranged over the years. Yu Yao's eyes sparkled. This beautiful and intelligent woman knew very well that even though there were many divine concubines of the Spirit Sea Lord, the one he doted on the most was the little girl who had woven clothes for him when he was young. "Greetings, Miss Red Lotus." She walked up, bowing slightly. She was dressed in battle armor, her beautiful jade face incomparably natural. A divine concubine bowed to another divine concubine. No matter how one looked at it, this was flattery, but Yu Yao did not show any of this. Her alluring eyes curved slightly, and her charming smile attracted everyone's attention. Many divine concubines looked at this scene with different expressions. No need to be so polite. Hong Lian glanced at Yu Yao and said indifferently, "Don't worry. You are no longer my maid." Even so, Red Lotus's tone was gentler and not as cold as before. Yu Yao was very smart and naturally sensed the difference in Red Lotus's words. The two women whispered to each other. Many experts looked in the direction of the boundless world. At this time, the boundless sea was gradually separating from the boundless world, forming a huge fault that spanned across the boundless sea. Terrifying seawater rushed down from the fault, as if pouring into a rift valley. "Look, it's starting." At this moment, a soft exclamation sounded. Many experts were alarmed, and the scene fell silent as they looked in the direction of the boundless world. Many pairs of eyes were filled with anticipation. To be able to witness a peerless expert reopen heaven and earth, and refine earth, water, wind, and fire, this was almost an unparalleled opportunity. They might even achieve Tao because of it. The boundless world had become a ruin. Qin Feng not only wanted to reopen heaven and earth, but also destroy it. Qin Feng glanced at the many experts on the boundless sea. He mobilized a layer of the Spirit Sea's origin power. Gradually, a thin layer of light appeared on the rift valley that looked like it was on the surface of the sea. The light was agile like a veil, but it had an extremely strong protective power. Qin Feng looked at the boundless world. To reopen heaven and earth, one must first destroy it. Of course, this kind of destruction was not like the Lord of Doomsday, who completely destroyed the world, but only returning it to chaos. However, this was not difficult. The boundless world had already been destroyed. Qin Feng took out a battle sword. War God Sword. Seeing this battle sword, the war god Sek's ancestral god of war's eyes lit up. The sword light slashed through. There was a loud rumble. In the eyes of many experts, it was as if heaven and earth were forcibly severed, and heaven and earth suddenly lost their support. The sky and earth combined and collided. Billions of spacetime were destroyed, turning into pure chaos. Shocking chaos waves swept up, and the sky, void, mountains, rivers, and countless ruins turned into pure chaos. There was no distinction between up and down. Seeing this scene, many ancestral gods who cultivated great destruction and great quietus on the boundless sea felt as if their souls had fallen into the terrifying scene of heaven and earth falling into destruction. Their auras began to fluctuate, and they instantly fell into a deep level of enlightenment. Chapter 16:21. In the eyes of many divine emperors, god-emperors, and ancestral gods who cultivated the great path of destruction, the destructive sword wasn't just a beam of sword light. Instead, it was a beam of light that conformed to the natural laws of destruction. Just this sword strike alone was enough to make all the experts who cultivated the great path of destruction feel that this trip was worth it. Is this the power of a 17th level expert? The souls of the 8 16th level experts were shaken. They felt as if their souls were drowned in the chaos created by this sword. The difference was too great. 16th level experts controlled natural laws, but these natural laws were unbelievably weak in front of a 17th level expert's attack. They were easily suppressed. A single sword strike destroyed the boundless world. There was a loud rumble. The crystal wall began to shrink and collapse. Within the chaos, Qin Feng frowned at this scene. Once the crystal wall shrank and collapsed, the entire boundless world would be reduced to chaos. He wasn't what he needed. His goal was only to reshape the boundless world so that it would be completely digested by the spirit sea world and become an outer barrier. He didn't want the boundless world to return to chaos. At the same time, a portion of the terrifying power of chaos surged toward the spirit sea world on the other side of the endless ocean. Many experts were aghast. They felt as if they would be annihilated by the boundless torrent of chaos. Fortunately, Qin Feng had long set up a huge barrier at the edge of the endless ocean. Although the torrent of chaos roared as it struck the barrier, it was firmly blocked. Although they managed to stop him, many experts were secretly drenched in sweat. The torrent of chaos was too terrifying. Even a 16th level saint god was abnormally small in front of it. Their innate divine power would be easily corroded and they would perish. Don't let the crystal wall collapse. Shrink. Qin Feng's palm moved, and a small and exquisite 18th-grade gray lotus appeared. The 18th grade lotus of creation. A natural spirit treasure nurtured by the natural laws of creation. As soon as it appeared, it flew above the boundless world and emitted a gray light. A mighty force stabilized the crystal wall that had lost its support and was about to turn into chaos. It stopped the merging of the boundless world. Qin Feng's gaze fell on the chaos. The next step was to reopen the heavens, cleave apart the primal chaos, refine the earth, water, wind, and fire, and make all living things appear. After pondering for a moment, Qin Feng waved his sleeve, and hundreds of millions of five-colored thunderbolts blasted out. Bang bang bang! The terrifying chaos was directly blasted apart by the heaven-splitting divine thunder. The destroyed chaos turned into the most primitive elements of earth, water, wind, and fire. Large patches of chaos were shattered, and the world began to have color. It was as if the fused heaven and earth had been separated once again. Clear chi rose to become the sky, and earth chi sank, becoming vast and boundless. It was a boundless heaven and earth. However, this kind of destruction only lasted for a moment. Soon, the earth, water, wind, and fire became chaotic, and the heaven and earth showed signs of merging back together. I need something to support heaven and earth. Qin Feng's eyes understood. At this point, most of the gods of creation who were slightly poorer would go bare-armed and fight against the power of heaven and earth by themselves. The wealthier ones would probably collect some precious chaos embryos from the chaos and refine them into heavenly pillars that supported the heaven and earth. There were also some gods of creation who would use this opportunity to create an avatar to stand up to the heavens. However, Qin Feng was undoubtedly wealthy. There were many choices. He pointed with his finger. Rumble. Many cultivators turned around abruptly and saw several huge branches coming out from the depths of the spirit sea. They were like numerous dragons entering the boundless world. Chaos World Tree. The four shrouding immortals and many experts of the shrouding world were shocked. The name of the Chaos World Tree could be said to have spread throughout the shrouding world. Especially some experts who had transformed from spirit herbs, sacred herbs, and divine herbs, their eyes lit up. To be able to become a world tree that supported the heaven and earth was the ultimate goal of many spirit races. The world tree was undoubtedly the king of all spirit roots, and one of the ultimate forms of spirit roots. On the spirit sea's side, led by Crown Prince Tsang Qiong, many wood ancestors were also shocked. Rumble. Wherever the world tree passed, countless condensed earth, water, wind, and fire were scattered. A strange force pushed open the heaven and earth that wanted to merge back together little by little. In the void, there were 3,000 precepts manifested, like a chaotic demon god that stirred up light, darkness, wind, and thunder. All kinds of terrifying forces were about to destroy the creation of heaven and earth. That was the power of chaos. Any creation god that separated heaven and earth had to deal with the chaos to divide the heaven and earth precepts and evolve them to counterattack. In addition to the 3,000 acquired precepts of heaven and earth, there were 6 innate precepts that evolved into 6 mysterious forces. They were the force of 10,000 spirits that evolved from the innate spiritual precept. The force of 10,000 spirits gave the 3,000 acquired precepts the power of spirituality, like the wind precepts that evolved into a huge wind giant. He was like a saint god born from the wind precepts of heaven and earth. There were also fire precepts, water precepts, thunder precepts, light precepts, dark precepts, and countless other precepts that jumped out and shook heaven and earth. There were 6 innate precepts, including the innate yin and yang precepts, the innate freezing precepts, the innate fate precepts, the innate chaos precepts, and the innate power precept. On the endless sea, many experts were looking at the mysterious forces that evolved from the 6 innate precepts with bright eyes. After the spirit sea merged with the innate precepts of the shrouding world, the number of innate precepts reached 13. This time, there were 6 new innate precepts in the boundless world. Other than the repetitions of the innate fate precepts and the innate power precepts, there were 4 new innate precepts. The innate yin and yang, the innate freezing precepts, the innate chaos precepts, and the innate spirituality precepts. There were 4 more innate saint god positions, especially those that cultivated the innate yin and yang precepts, the innate freezing precepts, the innate chaos precepts, and the innate spirituality precepts. Even the 8 16th level saint gods were no exception. A portion of the acquired saint gods had to evolve into the innate precept. Earthly sovereign Wang Daoi's gaze vaguely locked onto the innate spirituality precept. The acquired reincarnation precepts were the most suitable to evolve into the innate life and death precepts, but man proposes, God disposes. However, it could also evolve into the innate spirituality precept. The acquired reincarnation was the transformation of spirituality, the reincarnation of spirituality. Only with spirituality could everything live in the reincarnation cycle after cycle. The light origin Saint God and darkness origin Saint God had their eyes on the innate yin and yang precepts. Darkness and light were the manifestations of the innate yin and yang. Between the two origin Saint Gods, sparks of fire could be vaguely seen. The four shrouding heavens immortals, Yi Fan, Wu Shi Grand Monarch, Vicious, and Duanda also had their eyes shining brightly. In order for a 16th level Saint God to break through to 17th level Primal Chaos Saint God, they must have the opposite innate precept. Now that the number of innate precepts in the Spirit Sea had increased to 17, this was a rare opportunity. The Blue Sky Wood Ancestor, the Thundercloud Wood Ancestor, the Bodhi Wood Ancestor, the Primal Chaos Wood Ancestor, the Clear Aqua Wood Ancestor, and so on. The Iridescent Cloud Wood Ancestor was an ancient sacred tree that originally resided in Xingqian School. She was the first to arrive. With a shake of her body, she transformed into a towering jade-red sunset divine tree. Covered the sky and covered the sun. Clouds and rosy clouds rose under the leaves. It was a beautiful sight to behold. The boundless divine light engulfed and froze the boundless earth, water, wind, and fire in the multicolored light. The Primal Chaos Wood Ancestor was the second to land. The Primal Chaos Wood Ancestor was even closer to Qin Feng. It was formed from the Primal Chaos Ancient Tree in the Chief God Dimension. After its body separated from the Primal Chaos World Tree, it transformed into a second-generation Primal Chaos World Tree seed. Now that the giant tree had transformed into its true form, its Primal Chaos domain expanded. The boundless earth, water, wind, and fire were devoured and refined into pure innate Qi. The Thundercloud Wood Ancestor and the Bodhi Wood Ancestor were the third and fourth to land. One of them came from the depths of the wild, desolate spirit realm and was the ancestor of the divine wood race. The other Bodhi Wood Ancestor was a wood ancestor formed from the Zen sect ruins in the primordial Pure Land. The two divine trees landed on the ground, surrounded by thunderclouds. The Bodhi clear sacred light filled the primal chaos. There was also the green sapphire wood ancestor. Its green leaves as big as a banana stood tall in the primal chaos. As for the Sui Wang Wood Ancestor, the Great Earth Wood Ancestor, the Dragon Blood Wood Ancestor, the Frost Wood Ancestor, the Sin Wood Ancestor, the Thunder Wood Ancestor, the Light Wood Ancestor, and the Laurel Wood Ancestor, they could only watch enviously from the side. They were all here in their avatars. Their true bodies were in the elemental Great Thousand or other Greater Thousand realms, so it was difficult to move them. In addition to the Wood Ancestors, there were many spirit race experts who revealed their true forms to suppress the primal chaos and stabilize the earth, water, wind, and fire. Although there were many spirit race experts, they were still insignificant in the face of the boundless primal chaos. Many experts could see powerful spirit race experts being swallowed up by the primal chaos from time to time. But there were also people who began to evolve in this life and death situation. Amidst the destruction, their true bodies were reborn time and time again. The trunks were broken, leaving only the stumps and root. But many experts were doing their best to transform in this desperate situation. But with so many spirit race experts helping to stabilize the earth, water, wind, and fire, Qin Feng was free. His expression was cold as sword light swept across. The sword light scattered the 3,000 great Tao Law incarnations, making it difficult for them to be reborn in a short time. Next, it was time to refine the raging earth, water, wind, and fire power. To Qin Feng, there were two ways to refine the earth, water, wind, and fire power. One was to directly refine the earth, water, wind, and fire power completely with his infinity divine power, combining them into one. Then, he used Taiji to form the 4 divisions, the 4 divisions to form the 8 trigrams, and the 8 trigrams to form the 5 elements: mountains, rivers, seas, and hills. After pondering for a moment, Qin Feng chose the second method. The first method was too complicated. He pulled out the divine war sword, which vaguely transformed into a giant axe. He slashed at the frozen earth, water, wind, and fire power. Bam! 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 It was as if a giant axe was striking a stone wall. The vast sky opened up, and countless earth, water, wind, and fire power fell from the sky, transforming into all kinds of precious connate spiritual items. Connate water essence, connately fire, connate third fire, fifth earth essence, first wood essence, grand white seventh metal, thunder essence, 9 heavens mysterious ice. Layer after layer fell from the sky. It was like a torrential waterfall, or a torrential downpour. Many of them turned into spiritual objects and became islands, volcanoes, lakes, oceans, mountains, lands, mines, and icebergs. Of course, there were also a few that, as they slammed into the elements of earth, water, wind, and fire, they gave birth to their own spirituality, causing the 9th heaven's profound ice and the 9th heaven's empyrean wind to transform into pre-heaven ice-type and pre-heaven wind-type god spirits. There were also innate water gods, lightning gods, gold gods, wood gods, and so on. Numerous mysterious scenes appeared one after another. Boundless fortune, the birth and death of earth, water, wind, and fire, all transformed into a heaven-opening brand that fused into the depths of the souls of many experts who were watching this scene. For a time, many experts fell into an extremely profound state of comprehension. Rumble! Right at this moment, an enormous sound that shook the heavens resounded, jolting everyone out of their profound comprehension. The expressions of many experts changed drastically as they looked over. The boundless world shook violently, and boundless acquired wood elemental laws of nature manifested from heaven and earth. In the center, a towering tree materialized from the center. Countless wood elemental laws of nature swirled around it, and the aura of a chief god burst out of it with a loud boom. Chapter 16:23. Be it those god trees that were supporting the vast world or the spirit sea world and shrouding skies world, the countless living beings and demon race beings that cultivated the wood laws, all of them felt as though there was a tremendous pressure that was pressing down on their souls from the very source. Greetings, Wood Master God! Almost involuntarily, all of the powerful beings knelt down on the ground. This shock that came from the depths of their souls had everyone congratulating in unison. Boom! The vast world quaked violently as the aura of life filled the entire world, sweeping through the entire vast world. Countless spirit trees took root and sprouted. Instantly, the initially barren world that was formed purely from all sorts of yuan qi was filled with life. Just like a green carpet, it spread out across the entire vast world. The Crown Prince has broken through? At this moment, within the chaos of the vast world, there were many god trees that were in the midst of metamorphosis. The Wood Master was jolted awake. With a single look, all of the spirit race beings were overjoyed. Within the heaven and earth, all of the spirit trees swayed gently, overjoyed at the birth of the Wood Master God. Amidst the chaos, a towering tree grew rapidly. The ancient tree expanded and landed on a continent. Its roots were like horned dragons as it pierced through the continent. The tree crown towered into the sky as it began to grow rapidly. At a speed visible to the naked eye, a gigantic god country was born on that gigantic firmament world tree. Clear air swirled around it as countless wood gods bowed down. Qin Feng's expression was unchanged as the battle god sword in his hands transformed into the battle god axe and continued to smash apart the chaos. Shing! Shing! Countless essences of earth, water, wind, and fire fell down under the chop of the gigantic axe. Along with the solidification of the vast world, The earth, water, wind, and fire fell down in large chunks as the most basic features of the vast world began to appear. It was boundless and looked immensely gigantic. Even if all of the ancestor God powerful beings looked over, they could not help but feel their hearts skip a beat. There were some differences between the vast world and the spirit sea world. The oceans of the spirit sea world were vast, and the 5 seas were even more boundless, nurturing countless sea race beings. The oceans of the vast world looked even more vast. When most powerful beings caught sight of this, they did not have much of a reaction. However, with the dragon race as their leader, the water spirits, ice race, black tortoise race, and a portion of the sea race beings were all beaming with joy. Many powerful races were already preparing to take over more of the ocean. The larger the ocean, the stronger their race would be. For example, the mother of all water occupied the entire endless ocean, and she was called the sea god of the endless ocean. If it wasn't for this identity, it would absolutely be impossible for her to break through into the water universe enlightened ancestral god realm in a short period of time. To divide a sea, refine it, and make it a sea god, turning it into a sea god kingdom was something many seafolk could only dream of. Now that a large piece of unknown sea was right in front of them, how could they not be envious? The boundless world was unlike the spirit sea world. Most of the sea regions in the spirit sea world had already been divided up by the water gods of the spirit sea divine system. The sea region of the boundless world was indeed vast. After swinging the war god axe and destroying all the solidified earth, water, wind, and fire, Qin Feng began to reshape the sea region. Qin Feng divided the huge sea into 6 parts. The 6 seas were vast and boundless. Qin Feng named them the Tempest Sea, Black Water Sea, Nirvana Sea, Fog Sea, Abyssal Sea, and Black Ice Sea. Among the 6 seas, the Tempest Sea was bordered by the Spirit Sea world's Endless Sea. It was surrounded by storms all year round, filled with endless storms. Here, astral winds swirled. This was the barrier Qin Feng set up between the boundless world and the Spirit Sea world. It was difficult for non-emperors to cross this huge sea region. Bordering the Tempest Sea was the Fog Sea in the Eastern Sea Divine Prefecture. The Fog Sea was surrounded by fog all year round, and countless islands were submerged under the boundless fog. The fog was another barrier of the endless storm above the Tempest Sea. As for the other 4 seas, the Black Water Sea was in the northeast, and the Nirvana Sea was in the north. There were many strange places there, and many strange lights and mysterious forces. However, there were also many innate spiritual objects, and the islands nurtured living creatures. The second was the Abyssal Sea in the west. Beyond the distant sea there was no gravity. Then there was the Black Ice Sea in the extreme south, covered by glaciers. The 6 seas were basically formed naturally, and Qin Feng did not interfere. Among the 6 seas, the power of water was extremely abundant. Vaguely, there was a sea eye in each sea region, and in the sea eye, there were precious treasures that evolved from innate spiritual objects. Qin Feng's eyes revealed a hint of surprise as he looked at the 6 seas. Any expert of the water element who could become the master of the 6 seas would have a great opportunity to break through to the over-god realm. He took a quick look at the 6 seas. With a wave of his sleeve, it was as if the stars had moved. The divine concubines and experts of the endless sea suddenly appeared in the boundless world. The experts felt their faces change, and they suddenly appeared in a foreign spacetime. Their faces changed drastically. However, when they saw the black-robed figure in the void, they immediately bowed in unison. "Greetings, Your Majesty! Rise." The black-robed figure waved his hand gently. He looked calm, and did not look like he had just created a new world. He was unbelievably powerful. Many experts were inwardly awed. So, this is the new boundless world? At this moment, while the gods were bowing, The 8 sacred gods' gazes immediately fell on the newly born world. Their powerful spiritual senses sensed that the heavens and earth had just been created, and the natural spiritual energy was so dense that it was almost impossible to disperse. What a rich world of spirit chi! Yi Fan could not help but be moved as well. To be able to create such a gigantic world out of the chaos. This was an earth-shattering feat. The gazes of the experts were more focused on the 4 gigantic continents above the endless sea region. The new boundless world was boundless, with countless islands above the sea region. However, a single look was enough to tell that those 4 continents would be the masters in the future. Out of those 4 continents, one of them already had a master. On that continent, a gigantic world tree stood tall. It was as huge as an umbrella, with branches and leaves covering it, spanning hundreds of millions of miles across the void. That was the true body of the Wood Master God. Many experts were shocked. Other than the true body of the Wood Master God, there were many other god trees that towered into the heavens, standing tall above the mountains. Divine light shot into the heavens, nurturing countless spirit roots and spirit meridians. It was a startling sight. Looking at the expressions of the experts, Qin Feng said calmly, "From today onwards, this is the Spirit Sea God territory. This Spirit Sea God territory is divided into the East Sea God territory, the extreme West Sacred State, the Northern Plains Spirit State, and the Boundless Continent. The Spirit Sea God system will not interfere in any disputes here." After he finished speaking, he looked at the experts, whose expressions changed slightly. "There is only one rule. The Saint Gods are not allowed to fight here. In this Spirit Sea God territory, each race will be responsible for their own deaths." Chapter 1624. Qin Feng did not build a playground for the Linghai deities for no reason. In fact, he had thought about it carefully. The Linghai deity system now had an inescapable net all over the place. The heavenly rules were strict, and the inescapable net was like a sharp sword hanging over the deities' heads. There was no problem in the short term, but Qin Feng was worried that things would turn against them in the long term. They would eventually rot and fall or revolt like fire. Just like the Qin dynasty in the Transmigrator's memory. He had set up all kinds of strict rules, and if he moved, he would be punished. While maintaining high combat standards, he would also cause the people under him to live in misery and suffering. The land of the deer was not only a land of freedom, but also a place full of chaos and order in the future. At the same time, Qin Feng had more plans and experiments. By the side, after hearing Qin Feng's words, many experts were shocked. Immediately, many of them were overjoyed. It should be known that the experts of the deity system were strong, but many people were already out of breath under the great pressure of the deity system. "Your Majesty, what do you mean?" At the side, Yi Fan fell into deep thought as he looked at Qin Feng. The boundless world has 4 continents. The East Sea Divine Region, the Holy West Continent, the Spirit State of the Northern Plains, and the Boundless Continent. Any expert who can rule a continent and unify it will obtain the origin that I have placed in the depths of the 4 continents and become the origin Saint God. Qin Feng said calmly. "What, the boundless world's origin?" When these words were spoken, not only did the numerous ancestral gods, but even the 8 saint gods subtly turned their heads slightly. However, they were able to see the extremely concealed shock on each other's faces. Qin Feng said as he glanced at the expressions of the many experts. "There are also the 6 seas. There are great opportunities in each of the 6 seas. Any expert who can become the ruler of any of the 6 seas will obtain a boost in providence and a chance to break through to the 16th level of the Saint God realm." Everyone was stunned at first, and then they quickly became restless. The shock that had not completely dissipated from before slowly surged in their hearts again. An opportunity to break through to the 16th level of the Saint God realm. This was simply a heaven-shaking opportunity. This is truly a heaven-sent opportunity. Some of the major clans, such as the Dragon Clan, the Star Clan, the Ice Clan, the Water Fairy Clan, the Black Tortoise Clan, and the Chelan Clan, were already rubbing their hands in anticipation. The eyes of some of the more powerful elder gods had already begun to turn red. However, before that, of the 4 divine lands, the Greyweed continent already has a master. It's the territory of the Wood God tribe, the Wood God. As soon as Qin Feng finished speaking, the spiritual race experts were already grinning from ear to ear. Thank you, Your Majesty. In the distance, hundreds of silhouettes appeared in the sky above the Greyweed continent. Under the lead of an extremely dignified overgod, many experts saluted. The Wood Sovereign. At the side, the ancestor gods of various races looked envious as they watched this scene. No one had any objections to this. The Wood Master God had already broken through. Furthermore, everything that the spirit race had done for the boundless world earlier on had left one speechless. Many experts could only be envious. According to what we said earlier, the powerhouse with the most slaughter points on the All Heavens merit ranking will receive a great gift. As soon as Qin Feng finished speaking, many experts' gazes fell on the Tsangtian Demon Emperor. Previously, in the boundless world, the Demon Master of the Demon Region, the Tsangtian Demon Emperor ranked first on the slaughter points ranking. Junior Brother Tsangtian, the Northern Plains Spirit State shall be your territory. His expression was calm. What? Seeing the Spirit Ocean Overlord casually giving away another divine land, many ancestor gods could no longer sit still. They wanted to say something but stopped. However, in the face of the Spirit Ocean Overlord's unimaginably powerful aura, many experts could only suppress their unwillingness and jealousy in their hearts. Their eyes turned red like rabbits. The Tsangtian Demon Emperor was also stunned. However, he reacted quickly and quickly saluted. Thank you, Your Majesty. Many experts from the demon region were flushed. This was indeed a great gift from a heavenly general. Seeing this scene, some of the experts who had been sneaking around in the battle of the boundless world earlier on were now filled with regret. The ancestor gods' faces turned pale as their faces contorted in anger. If they had known that they would be able to obtain a divine land like an origin land, they would not have let the Tsangtian Demon Emperor take advantage of them even at the cost of their lives. The Tsangtian Demon Emperor lowered his head. Even though his state of mind was outstanding, he could not help but blush at this moment. A divine land could be said to be a divine land. Get up. Qin Feng raised his hand. It was almost irresistible. The Tsangtian Demon Emperor immediately felt an extremely powerful invisible force lifting his body up. Secondly, the various races will enter the divine land according to their ranking on the All Heavens merit ranking. After 300 years, non-godly realm forces will be allowed to enter, and the number of races will be gradually increased. Hearing this, many experts' eyes flickered and they had different expressions. Some of the experts who were ranked high on the All Heavens merit ranking were overjoyed. Correspondingly, some of the experts who were ranked low on the All Heavens merit ranking looked bitter. For example, the Endless Sea God Jellyfish Inji. Her water spirit clan had killed many when they were conquering the boundless world. Countless water demons had died in the hands of the water spirit clan's army. She was ranked top 3 on the All Heavens merit ranking. Her target was the Stormy Sea region. If she could integrate the Endless Sea and the Stormy Sea region, she would definitely be able to break through to become a mortal fairy in the shortest time possible and enter the rank 16 divine realm. However, not everyone was like the water spirit clan of the Endless Sea who were giving their all. Qin Feng saw this and sneered. Some people did not listen to orders and were playing tricks. Did they really think that he did not know? Now, he wanted to let these people know that they could play tricks, but they would have to queue up for benefits in the future. Divine concubines, stay. Qin Feng's gaze fell on the divine concubines. These divine concubines were his women after all. In order to stabilize the god system and stabilize the people's hearts, he could only distribute the rewards to the experts under him. He did not have time to take care of these divine concubines. Go back and prepare. In 100 years, the boundless world will be officially opened. With a wave of his sleeve, Qin Feng sent them out. Before the experts left, their gazes fell on the divine concubines. Envy flashed across their eyes. Of course, they knew why the Spirit Sea Lord wanted these divine concubines to stay. This was especially so for some of the divine concubines. The light in their eyes almost engulfed the Spirit Sea Lord. At the same time, Qin Feng's gaze fell on the only beautiful divine concubines left. This group of beautiful divine concubines could be said to be eye candy. The place was rather quiet. The beautiful divine concubines' watery eyes fell on Qin Feng. These divine concubines were all very intelligent. How could they not know that Qin Feng was going to scheme for them? Chapter 1625. Qin Feng's gaze landed on the few deity consorts, and he first looked at Tai Su deity consort Du Pingxia. At this point, Du Pingxia had already refined the innate Tai Su Qi, and with the innate Tai Su Qi, she barely managed to achieve the innate Tai Su deity emperor body. However, it was obvious that Du Pingxia's talent was not as good as the other ladies. Even with Qin Feng's efforts, she was still far behind the other deity consorts. Pingxia, you cultivate the innate Tai Su law of the innate 5 law of innate Tai Su. In fact, the innate Tai Su law is the innate matter law. This law is extremely powerful, but the improvement is slow. With that said, Qin Feng looked at Du Pingxia. Du Pingxia's face was calm as she looked at Qin Feng with a smile, bowed and said, "Your Majesty, you don't have to worry about me. Although I'm not smart enough, I still have the heart to pursue Tao. The road ahead is long and I'm already satisfied to be able to accompany your Majesty forever." Hearing this, the many deity consorts looked at Du Pingxia with different expressions. Qin Feng's expression changed slightly. At the side, Feng Yi rolled her eyes at Qin Feng. She went forward to help Du Pingxia up and said in a bad mood, "My sister Pingxia, you don't have to be so polite with our Majesty. He's now an extraordinary person, there's no need to save for him." The beauty was noble and generous. Her pair of beautiful eyes were like water, charming and moving to the extreme. Qin Feng helplessly smiled. He glanced at the graceful and luxurious beauty with a doting expression on his face. With a wave of his sleeves, a water-like ball of light floated above his palm. Gudong gudong. The ladies turned their gazes over. A ball of watery light abruptly floated above Qin Feng's palm. Boundless watery mist curled up, as though countless water vapors had transformed into bubbles of submission. This is... Looking at this ball of watery light and sensing its heavy and stagnant might, the women were moved. This is the origin of the Sea Eye in the western abyssal sea region. It was formed when an innate Tai Su origin fell into the western abyssal sea region during the creation of the world. Qin Feng smiled and pointed at his finger. A ray of light fell into the body of divine consort Du Pingxia. In an instant, the deity emperor godhead in Tai Su consort's body that was condensed from the innate Tai Su law grew in size and countless Tai Su divine domain's power was activated. It almost turned into a divine light that rushed into the clouds. What a powerful feeling! Du Pingxia closed her eyes. Her beautiful eyes were filled with a hint of shock. She felt layers of a divine domain spreading out from her. Everything within a radius of billions of li had become her divine domain. With a single thought, she could dictate the life and death of billions of spacetimes. From this day forth, I hereby appoint you as the ruler of the Abyssal Sea. The Abyssal Sea will become your divine domain, and any merchant fleet that enters the abyssal sea will have to remember your divine name and worship you. Every island and city-state on the abyssal sea will worship you as their ruler and worship you every year. Qin Feng said through telepathy. Thank you, Your Majesty. Divine Consort Tai Su opened her eyes and looked at Qin Feng with her beautiful eyes. She seemed to be extremely moved. Qin Feng waved his hand and Divine Consort Tai Su's body disappeared from the spot. In the next moment, she appeared above the boundless abyssal sea in the west. She felt the sea water in the abyssal sea resonating with her body. With just a thought, she could control billions of li of the sea. Even Divine Consort Tai Su felt like she was in a dream. Such a huge benefit, if it were anyone else, they would probably go crazy. On the spot, Qin Feng's gaze landed on the remaining divine consorts. Seeing him looking over, the divine concubines all looked at him charmingly, their eyes bright and beautiful. Many divine concubines had witnessed the great opportunity that divine concubine Tai Su had obtained. Qin Feng couldn't possibly favor one over the other, could he? Qin Feng looked around and his gaze fell on Yu Yao. Not long ago, this divine consort was appointed as a divine consort together with divine consort Siren. Her legs were long and slender, her waist was graceful, and her curves were fiery. Although she was wearing silver armor, the silver armor did not cover up her fiery figure. Instead, it highlighted her figure. Yao, although you and I didn't have much contact, before I attained Tao, you were in charge of all the internal affairs. After you attained Tao, you put down the internal affairs and entered the heavenly troop camp of the Dou division. You started from scratch and didn't rely on any of my power. You grew from a heavenly troop to the highest commander of a large army. All the hard work you have today was earned by yourself. You have always been persistent and cultivated the rules of wisdom. Today I'll give you a gift too. As Qin Feng spoke, a ray of light appeared in his palm again. It was a ball of gentle light. In the light, a book was faintly discernible. It was a book. It was a pure white book that seemed to have been nurtured by the wisdom of billions of beings in the world. At the sight of the book, Yu Yao's face trembled. It was as if the godhead of a peak divine emperor in her body was about to burst out. Yu Yao's watery eyes stared at the book in shock. Seeing Yu Yao's strange look, the other girls couldn't help but look at the book. What on earth was this? It could make the commander of the Phoenix Dance Army, who was known as the Iron Blood Divine Consort and the Goddess of War, so moved. Among the divine consorts of light and darkness, Shirhan, the divine consort of light, had a strange look in her beautiful eyes. Others might not recognize this treasure, but she vaguely knew its origin. Qin Feng faced the other girls' expressions and directly revealed its origin. This is the Book of Wisdom. It was a connate spiritual object nurtured by the rules of wisdom in the first era of the Spirit Sea world. It was a connate spiritual object that accompanied the heavenly Lord of Wisdom in the primordial age. However, because the Spirit Sea world was only a great thousand world in the primordial age, it wasn't fully nurtured. Strictly speaking, it wasn't a connate spiritual object. Qin Feng stared at the book as a strange light flickered in his eyes. After the Spirit Sea world was merged with the Creator space, it had completely become his backyard. The countless treasures and secret treasures buried in the Spirit Sea world were piled up in his warehouse. Qin Feng looked at Yu Yao. This Book of Wisdom has been in my hands for a long time. All these years, it has been in the dream realm, absorbing the wisdom of living beings to nurture it again. Its power has changed greatly. Just now, taking advantage of the reopening of the world, I used a supreme technique to return it to its original state. If it is nurtured well in the future, it may be able to become a spiritual treasure. With that, Qin Feng waved his sleeve. The white light in his palm turned into a stream of light and fell in front of Yu Yao. Yu Yao took a deep breath as she gazed at the connate spirit artifact. Then, she carefully put it away. This treasure was too precious. To her, it was an opportunity to prove her Tao. In addition, from today onwards, I will confer you the title of the Goddess of Wisdom and War. You will be in charge of a part of the Spirit Sea world, the Boundless world, and the Sky world. From now on, you will be worshipped by all living beings. I'm so excited that I suddenly increased by 200,000. However, the editor has already explained that it's a backstage error. Everyone, I'm really cursing in your hearts. I'm going to move bricks now. Chapter 16:26. The Goddess of War and Wisdom? The ladies' gazes fell on Yu Yao, and a strange expression appeared in their eyes. Was this a divine position? Could it be that Yu Yao wanted to walk the path of believing in a god? Not only the ladies, but Yu Yao's eyes were also looking at Qin Feng in confusion. She had never said that she wanted to walk the path of believing in a god. Sister Yu Yao, don't worry, this is great news. The divine position of the Goddess of War and Wisdom of Three Worlds, even I am envious of it. On the side, Feng Yi was the first to step forward after seeing Yu Yao's expression. Her pair of watery eyes first glanced at Qin Feng. Her eyes that could speak seemed to blame him for being biased. Sister Feng Fei, what do you mean? Yu Yao and the other divine concubines had already looked at Feng Yi. Although the ladies didn't have a good relationship with this divine concubine, they knew that she had a high position and power. She controlled the god of wealth residence in the entire divine system and held most of the money bags of the Spirit Sea Dominator. Moreover, with the All Heavens Trading Space Center in her hands, she knew a lot of secret. Naturally, it wasn't something that ordinary people could compare to. Thinking of the resources in the hands of this goddess, many divine concubines felt sad. They were both divine concubines, but His Majesty doted on this unfamiliar divine concubine too much. Yu Yao was one of the few divine concubines who were close to Feng Yi. Of course, Yu Yao was clever and had a good relationship with many divine concubines. Feng Yi's waist was slightly plump, but she was tall and beautiful. In the land of the stars, she was known as the #1 beauty of the stars, but it wasn't because of the countless compliments of the experts in the Star River continent. Seeing the ladies looking at her, Feng Yi shook her head and smiled. Since ancient times, divine positions were necessary to become a god through faith. Sisters who have cultivated to today's level are very clear about the drawbacks of becoming a god through faith. Divine positions are necessary to gather faith and incense. Since ancient times, in the eyes of many divine Tao experts, there are too many drawbacks. Incense is poisonous, and faith contains the evil thoughts of millions of people. Naturally, it can poison the divine soul and even pollute the immortal body of a true god. It can even make the Godhead impure and produce impurities. Although divine positions can speed up the birth of divine power and help gods comprehend laws and rules faster. Her voice paused, and Feng Yi changed the topic. But what all of you don't know is that this sort of concept can only be said to be correct to a certain extent. All the laws of the myriad Daos lead to the same destination, and they're similarly capable of attaining a supreme realm. Yu Yao fell into deep thought. What Big Sister means is that the reason why there were so many flaws before was because we were too weak, and what we saw was one-sided. Or perhaps these flaws have been completely overcome? Feng Yi's beautiful eyes that were as clear as water landed on Yu Yao. Sister, I finally understand why that fellow named you as the Goddess of Wisdom and War. You've truly been wronged by that fellow making you a steward for so many years. Hearing this, Yu Yao came to her senses and smiled. Elder sister, don't tease me. Yao is satisfied to be able to gain His Majesty's trust and manage the family business. After saying that, she looked at a certain someone with her watery eyes. Qin Feng's heart skipped a beat, but his expression didn't change. Qin Feng kept a straight face and pretended to be serious. Above his palm, a ball of divine light appeared. Within the divine light, there was a vague sense of boundless holiness, and the brilliance shook several postnatal laws in the void. That was the divine position. After any god fused with it, their strength would increase exponentially. Whether it was comprehending laws or laws, it would be half the result with twice the effort. Their combat power would also increase in all aspects. Qin Feng looked at the girls and said lightly, "Phoenix concubine is right. Not long ago, the boundless world fused with the spirit sea world, and the innate spiritual laws were born, benefiting from the power of the spirit sea world. Some of the flaws of the divine position have been completely resolved by me. It won't be long before the God of Faith becomes an extremely important branch of the divine path of the spirit sea world, and even penetrates the entire divine system. The cultivation speed of the gods will increase by another level." As his voice fell, the wisdom and war divine position floating above Qin Feng's palm turned into a stream of light and entered Yu Yao's body. At the same time, there was a secret method that perfectly resolved the problem of the poisonous faith, as well as a supreme technique to condense the divine weapon of faith, the golden body of faith. Condense the golden body of faith and have a second life. With the power of the wisdom and war divine positions, you can condense two divine weapons of faith. With just a glance, Yu Yao's eyes lit up. At the same time, as the divine position merged into the depths of her soul, she clearly felt that the wisdom and war precepts in the world had become several times more intimate. When necessary, she could even mobilize a portion of the power of heaven and earth. This is a truly powerful true God, guarding the laws on behalf of the heavens. And the girls felt it even more clearly. As the divine position entered her body, the girls felt that the aura on Yu Yao's body became stronger and more sacred. It seemed that her strength was increasing every moment. Their feeling was not wrong. The most powerful thing about the divine position was that it could enjoy the worship of all living beings under the divine position's function at all times. The higher the rank of the divine position's function, the faster the increase in strength. Generally speaking, divine positions such as earth, water, wind, fire, light, darkness, thunder, marriage, fertility, and stove, which were common and derived the most laws, would be stronger. And some divine positions that were rare or derived the least laws, such as creation and nothingness, would be much weaker. In short, the strength of a divine position was related to how widely it spread in the world. It did not have much to do with nature or nurture. The wisdom and war divine positions were undoubtedly great divine positions. Wherever there was conflict, there would be wisdom and war. However, as the secrets of the divine positions were gradually spread in the divine system, it would not be long before other gods of wisdom and war were born. This would inevitably lead to conflict. Even Qin Feng couldn't stop this kind of conflict. Whether or not Yu Yao could suppress the gods of wisdom and the various gods of war would depend on her ability. With a wave of her sleeve, Yu Yao's figure disappeared. Yu Yao was directly thrown back into the divine kingdom of the Spirit Sea divine system. After returning to the divine kingdom, Yu Yao only pondered for a moment before leaving. The appearance of the divine position would definitely cause a huge wave in the divine system. She wanted to seize the biggest piece of the cake before the other gods could react. Yu Yao had never been a weak woman. Of course, Qin Feng could be relied on, but she knew that if she wanted to become a true powerhouse and obtain more things, she would need to rely on her own methods. Chapter 1627. Then, Qin Feng looked at the sea demon divine consort, Lan Ro. Qin Feng pondered. He still had some feelings for Du Pingxia and Yu Yao, but for Lan Ro it was pure possessiveness and an unknown excitement. This beautiful sea demon queen's performance in bed was better than many divine concubines. Lan Ro looked a little nervous. She knew very well that she didn't have any deep feelings for the spirit sea ruler. If he was biased and used some other treasure to get rid of her, she wouldn't be able to do anything. Qin Feng glanced at the sea demon divine consort, who lowered her head and didn't say anything. You were originally the ruler of the boundless water world. Your energy is limited, so I didn't want to give you another title. However, a day as husband and wife is 100 days of grace. I can't wrong you. Now I, as the celestial emperor of the boundless world, spirit sea world, and shrouded sky world, confer upon you the title of sea god of the foggy sea domain. You will also be in charge of the eye of the foggy sea domain. Above Qin Feng's palm, a light slowly emerged. It was also an eye of the sea, but it was different from the abyssal sea domain's eye. This one was extremely misty, and had a very special power that seemed to be able to obscure the world. The power of the law of illusions. Lan Ro looked at the eye of the sea and was shocked. She cultivated a branch of the law of illusions, the law of illusions. In addition to controlling the power of water, the experts of the sea demon race were best at illusions. They could control fog and their singing could confuse travelers. Powerful sea monsters could create a massive fog sea region. If a true divinity were to enter, they would be trapped alive and sucked into the fog until they were dried-up corpses. Qin Feng pointed his finger, and the eye of the foggy sea domain turned into a stream of light that entered the sea demon divine consort's body. Lan Ro vaguely felt that she was resonating with a certain part of the sea domain. As she breathed, rolling power surged into her body. With a thought, she could trap and kill an ultimate powerhouse. It wasn't just an increase in strength, but also a closeness to the source. Lan Ro discovered that the bewildering fog sea region was filled with thick fog that covered the skies. Within the waves there were reefs that stood in great numbers. The terrain was complex, and even a powerful true divinity would find it difficult to navigate. Such an area was naturally suitable for the weak sea demon clan to live in. When she opened her eyes, a bright blue light flashed in her eyes. She suppressed the shock in her heart and went forward to give a curtsy. "Thank you, Your Majesty." A pair of watery eyes gazed at Qin Feng. Her watery eyes were extremely alluring. "All right, let's go to the Eye of the Sea and try to fully grasp the power of the Eye of the Sea as soon as possible." The power of the Eye of the Sea has other secrets. Qin Feng didn't want to say anything more. He waved his sleeves and sent the siren consort away. Qin Feng's gaze then landed on the divine concubines. The women's gazes were slightly strange, but most of them were filled with anticipation. In terms of closeness to the spirit sea ruler, any one of them was much closer to the spirit sea ruler than divine consort Tai Su, divine consort Iron Blood, and divine consort Siren. If divine consort Tai Su, divine consort Iron Blood, and divine consort Siren could receive such favor, they were confident that they wouldn't be inferior. After a quick glance, Qin Feng's gaze landed on the weakest divine consort of Shadow, Shi Tong. At this moment, Shi Tong had changed a lot compared to the first time they met. Her beautiful figure had completely matured. She wore a long black dress that was mysterious and carried a type of temptation that was difficult to ignore. Her tall and voluptuous figure emitted a mature and charming charm that had been polished by the passage of time. This kind of natural charm was already not something that an ordinary young girl could compare to. Because she resembled the divine consort of Light Shirhan in appearance, the divine consort of Light had a cold personality. Sometimes, the divine consort of Shadow would receive more favor. "Your Majesty, if I'm not satisfied, you won't be able to get on my bed for the next 30,000 years." Smiling at Qin Feng, this beautiful young married woman directly started to threaten him. She was like a little demon, seductive and charming, filled with naivety and sincerity. Qin Feng's mouth twitched. He glanced at the other consorts who were either smiling or pulling a long face. Qin Feng smiled helplessly. He glanced at Shi Tong. Shi Tong had originally comprehended the laws of darkness. With the return of the origin saint god, she could only seek the second best, which was to cultivate the laws of shadows derived from the laws of darkness. Qin Feng had originally wanted to give the divine title of Goddess of Darkness to Shi Tong. However, Shi Tong's cultivation wasn't enough to suppress the great gods of darkness. In the spirit sea realm and shrouding heaven realm, there were many great gods of darkness. The goddess of darkness, the ancestor god of darkness, the ancestor god of death, the ancestor god of sin. None of them were easy to deal with. Tonger, how about this? I'll confer you the title of Goddess of Shadows of the Three Realms, Empress of Shadows. You'll be in charge of a portion of the three realms. How about it? Qin Feng looked at Shi Tong. Shi Tong frowned. This divine title seemed to have a wide range of functions. It even included the great powers of darkness. However, in reality, it couldn't be considered a sovereign title. In Shi Tong's knowledge, divine titles were divided into different grades and ranks. The highest level should be the dominator divine roles like the goddess of wisdom and war, who monopolized one of them. Obtaining the dominator divine role was almost equivalent to being half a step away from reaching the overgod realm. After obtaining the sovereign title, one would be influenced by the sovereign title and wield the complete laws of the divine title. One day, one would be able to step into the overgod realm. The sovereign title had great potential. Even if one reached the 17th or 18th grade, it would still be of great use. Next was the Great God title. The Great God title could be divided into three grades. The first grade was the strongest and the third grade was the weakest. The first grade Great God title had great potential. However, it was much weaker than the sovereign title. Its range of functions was much weaker. Second and third grade Great Deities priesthoods had a smaller range of influence. Next was the Righteous God title. She should have obtained a first grade Great God title. Seeing Shi Tong frown, Qin Feng was helpless. He waved his sleeve, and a flickering shadow appeared in his hand. The shadow turned into a black ball. This is a shadow ball. It was refined from a natural spiritual item under the laws of shadow. It has the potential to evolve into a spiritual treasure. This emperor was originally planning to give it to the Lord of the Shadow Weave after it was completed. I'll give this to you as well. Qin Feng shook his head and waved his sleeve. The shadow ball turned into a ray of light and landed in Shi Tong's hand. Seeing this, the girls were slightly moved. Although the Shadow Weave hadn't been completed in recent years, it was already famous in the pantheon. Many powerful great gods had their eyes on it. There was a lot of profit in it. He was actually giving it to Shi Tong, the shadow consort. Shi Tong put away the shadow ball and refined it. She felt the laws of shadow, and darkness resonate with it, as well as a portion of the Shadow Weave's power. However, she said, "That's more like it." Shi Tong was satisfied. She couldn't help but raise her charming eyes and look at Qin Feng with watery eyes. "Your Majesty, do you want to do it tonight?" Chapter 1628. All the girls looked at Qin Feng with a smile that was not a smile. Qin Feng coughed dryly and glared at Shi Tong, who had a seductive expression on her face. "This little wench, I'll have to teach her a lesson when I catch her one day." Qin Feng muttered to himself as he waved his sleeves and sent Shi Tong away. There were only 5 ladies left. Light Divine Consort, Silver Moon Divine Consort, Phoenix Consort, Red Lotus, and Bai Yin. The 5 ladies were about the same in strength. Light Divine Consort Shirhan, Phoenix Consort Feng Yi, and Red Lotus had already stepped into the Ancestor God realm. The 3 of them had great fortuitous encounters. Light Divine Consort Shirhan had obtained the Xing God's origin, while Phoenix Consort Feng Yi controlled the space-time trading center. She had also obtained great benefits from the Bronze Fusion. Red Lotus had the 18 levels of Hell, and more than half of the Netherworld had fallen into her hands. She had also completely refined the Endless Blood River. Once the earthly sovereign, Wang Daoi, refined the reincarnation law into the law of innate spirituality, he would be able to control the netherworld. The three ladies were steadily advancing toward the mortal-immortal realm. Only Silver Moon Divine Consort and Bai Yen-er were slightly weaker. Moreover, what made Qin Feng frown was that both Silver Moon Divine Consort and Bai Yen-er were cultivating the law of innate absolute frost. The two ladies naturally formed a battle of Daos. Yen-er, you're actually not suited to cultivate the law of innate absolute frost. Qin Feng's gaze landed on Bai Yen-er. Bai Yen-er's expression changed. Seeing her expression, Qin Feng stopped her. Don't be hasty. The situation in your body is special. Although the two true spirits have merged into one, to a certain extent, they are still independent. It's very complicated. If you want to prove your Tao, the two of you must at least cultivate the law of innate absolute frost. Although they may not be the same, they must at least complement each other. Now, you and Bai Yu, one of you is comprehending the law of innate absolute frost, while the other is comprehending the law of innate absolute frost. Qin Feng shook his head slightly. Bai Yen-er and Bai Yu's expressions calmed down, and they were speechless. The two women were well aware of what Qin Feng had said. Then why can't we both cultivate the innate absolute frost law? No one knew which of the two spoke, but Bai Yen-er coldly glanced at God Consort Inu. It's not just you. Even Silver Moon can't cultivate the innate absolute frost law. To cultivate the innate absolute frost law, one must first cultivate the immovable heart of nirvana. If you can do it, you'll be like a 10,000-year-old glacier, with a heart as cold as the ancient underworld. He paused. Qin Feng glanced at Consort Silvermoon's slightly swollen belly. None of you will be able to do that. If you force yourself to cultivate, you will definitely die in the future. As Qin Feng finished speaking, his tone became colder and colder. The three women fell silent. His expression was one of disbelief. The three women were all people with outstanding mental fortitude, but this kind of shock was still hard to bear. Any expert would find it hard to accept. If they weren't the closest people to Qin Feng and knew Qin Feng's current cultivation level very well, they wouldn't have believed it. After all, they'd walked this path for thousands of years. Thousands of years, countless days and nights of bitter cultivation. This kind of perseverance was stronger than metal. How could it be broken by a few words? You need to forget everything about the innate absolute frost law. Fortunately, you haven't entered the ancestral god realm yet, so it won't affect you too much. Qin Feng shook his head. There were endless paths of cultivation in the world, countless secret arts, countless abilities, and all kinds of strange things. Every post-celestial law and post-celestial law, as well as the Tao attainment method, were similar, but there were subtle differences between them. For example, the innate absolute frost law was incomparably powerful, but the prerequisites were extremely high. It wasn't to the extent of forgetting one's emotions, but one had to at least try to avoid fluctuations in one's heart before reaching Tao attainment. The colder one's heart was, the easier it was for Tao attainment. Among Qin Feng's women, neither Divine Consort Inu nor Divine Consort Gemini could do this. Needless to say, Divine Consort Gemini's true spirit fusion made them twins. Bai Yu might be able to be ruthless and forget her emotions, but Bai Yen-er couldn't. If Divine Consort Inu killed her twins, she might be able to do it, but Qin Feng wouldn't allow it. Divine Consort Inu also knew that the twins were her and Qin Feng's relationship as husband and wife. They weren't close. If the twins died in her hands, Qin Feng wouldn't let her and the Silvermoon clan go. Sighing inwardly, Divine Consort Inu looked at Qin Feng. You should have been prepared for this. Hearing this, all the women's gazes fell on Qin Feng. Qin Feng smiled faintly as a cool light appeared on his palm. The light was like a crescent moon, and the coldness within it could freeze the ancient times. However, it was clearly quite different from the innate absolute frost law. There was also a trace of stars and the power of creation in it. What's this? Looking at the seemingly eternal silver light, divine consort Inue's expression changed. She felt something inside her that was about to burst out, and she yearned for that light. In the name of the supreme ruler of the boundless world, shrouded world, and spirit sea world, I name divine consort Inue as the goddess of the moon of the three worlds. She is in charge of the three moons, the ruler of the night and the god of In. As soon as he finished speaking, silver light flashed in Qin Feng's hand. Vaguely, three moons entered divine consort Inue's body one after another. At that moment, divine consort Inue felt unusually close to the laws of the moon in the world. Her divine soul resonated with the three giant moons in the world, and boundless divine power surged. Divine title of ruler, divine title of moon god of the three worlds, divine title of moon, night, In, and ice. Divine consort Inue opened her eyes and took a deep breath. This was a big deal. The laws of the moon were similar to the Khanate frost laws. Once she forgot about the power of the Khanate frost laws and merged with the divine title of moon god, it wouldn't take long for her to recover all her strength and even improve. Moreover, stabilizing the position of sacred moon god was just around the corner. Thank you, Your Majesty. Divine consort Inue was touched. She bowed slightly and was helped up by an invisible force. Rest well. The two children will be born soon. I hope you can truly merge with the divine title of moon god before then. Qin Feng smiled faintly and waved his hand, sending divine consort Inue away. Then his gaze landed on Bai Yen. The mystic ice sea eye of the six seas appeared in his hand. Yen Bai you can practice the mystic ice laws together. That might be more suitable for you. As soon as he finished speaking, the mystic ice sea eye turned into a streak of light and entered Bai Yen's body. Perhaps because Bai Yu controlled her body, the beautiful woman glanced at Qin Feng and didn't give Qin Feng any face. She flashed and left for the mystic ice sea eye of the South Pole. Only Honglian, Feng Yi, and the divine consort of light remained. Chapter 1629. Your Majesty, you probably won't be able to help the three of us. Feng Yi smiled when she saw Qin Feng looking at her. The ancestral god of hell, Red Lotus, and the divine concubine of light, Shirhan, exchanged a glance before looking away. Qin Feng looked at the three women with a pensive expression. To be fair, these three were probably the ones he didn't have to worry about the most. They had all started to surpass the ancestral god realm and embarked on the path of mortal immortals. Shirhan and Red Lotus had both received the saint god's origin. Feng Yi, in particular, was in charge of the All Heavens Trading Center. Her personal treasure, the All Heavens Merit List, had already been perfected. If not for the fact that the innate merit law hadn't been born yet, she would have broken through. How about this? I'll give you the titles of Goddess of Light of the Three Realms, Master of Spacetime Trading, and Lord of Endless Good and Evil. As Qin Feng finished speaking, three divine concepts appeared on his face. They were all sovereign divine concepts. The three divine concepts turned into three streams of light and fell into the three women. Vaguely, the laws behind the three women vibrated, and a huge phenomenon appeared, but it was instantly suppressed. When the sovereign divine concepts appeared, many mighty figures in the all heavens vaguely sensed something. In particular, some powerful ancestral gods who cultivated the laws of light, darkness, shadow, ice, and moon sensed several mighty forces flashing through the river of time. The three women quickly left the boundless world. Before leaving, Red Lotus glanced at the spirit sea lord. The two looked at each other and smiled. Deep in love, there was no need for too many words. Both of them understood each other. The two of them were no longer ordinary children. Red Lotus had her own endless blood sea and boundless hell. Qin Feng also had his own divine system. Now wasn't the time to be romantically involved. The great enemies outside were constantly waiting outside the Spirit Sea. If it weren't for the inescapable net, the Spirit Sea would have been infiltrated into a sieve. After the three women left, in the blink of an eye, the experts of various races entered the All Heavens merit list one by one. First came the experts of the demon realm. In just a few decades, the Northern Plains spirit state was filled with demon god clan experts. The Northern Plains spirit state was one of the boundless world's 4 great divine lands. Its territory was vast, and it was comparable to the 3,000 spirit regions of the Spirit Sea realm. The demon realm, which was dominated by the god race, was born from chaos. With the boundless world as a place to fight, the demon path's experts were like fish in water. In fact, it could be seen from the fact that many Devil Dao heavenly monarchs of the Devil Dao had entered the land of deer. They were not used to the suppression of the Spirit Sea's inescapable net. 100 years later, the second-ranked Sword Dao lineage entered the arena. The vast boundless world seemed to be vast and boundless. There were 4 divine lands, 6 seas, and countless islands. In reality, many of these territories already had owners. The Sword Dao lineage set their sights on the Eastern Sea Divine Prefecture. Compared to the Western Sacred Prefecture, the Eastern Sea Divine Prefecture was more important. As an elite elder god, De Guxie, the Lord of the Sword Dao, could clearly sense that the East Sea God Prefecture was even more beautiful than the 9 god prefectures of the Spirit Sea realm. Establishing a firm foothold here and establishing a sect would be beneficial for the development of the sect. 60 years later, the third force entered the vast boundless world. As one of the top 3 races on the All Heavens merit roll and the third race to enter the vast boundless world, the Water Fairy clan had a lot of room to choose. As the owner of the Water Fairy clan, the sea god jellyfish Inji of the Endless Ocean had set her eyes on the Storm Ocean, which was adjacent to the Endless Ocean. The jellyfish Inji was extremely fast and had great determination. A group of the strongest Water Fairy clan experts entered from the neighboring Endless Ocean. In just 30 years, they had occupied a small part of the Storm Ocean. They were already far ahead of the other races. After that, the races ranked 4th to 30th on the All Heavens merit roll entered the vast boundless world every few decades. Many experts entered the arena. Without the inescapable nets management, the Spirit Sea God system's suppression naturally caused many disputes and even death. Some of the suppressed conflicts began to erupt. 500 years later, the boundless world's restrictions were fully opened. Experts of various races entered the vast boundless world and began to fight among themselves. In order to fight for territory, many races were directly annihilated. Some of the top experts of the Shrouded Sky world also participated in this life and death battle. With the 4 great sanctuaries of the Shrouded Sky world as the leaders, many experts joined forces and occupied most of the Sacred West State's territory. 1,000 years later, the initial chaos of the vast boundless world had passed. Many places competed for ownership. The vast boundless continent was occupied by the Spirit Clan with the Wood Overlord. Apart from some of the Spirit Clan's subordinate forces, the experts of other races could not get close. The Northern Plains Spirit State was dominated by the Demon God Clan with the Heavenly Demon Emperor as their leader. However, the Northern Plains Spirit State had always been in chaos since ancient times. The experts of the demon domain were not good at creation but only at plundering. In a short period of time, the Northern Plains Spirit State had turned into a barren land with terrifying demonic mountains. White bones were everywhere. Some demons even revealed their true forms and began to act recklessly. They bullied men and women, cultivated all kinds of terrifying demonic techniques, and refined souls. The entire Northern Plains Spirit State was filled with demonic aura. Countless demon domains roamed freely, causing one's expression to change. There were also many races that entered the Northern Plains spirit state. For example, the zombie clan and some of the demon gods and demonic gods. They took advantage of the chaos and built demonic cities in the Northern Plains spirit state. They became the kings of the mountains and reigned supreme. They no longer had to face the dangers of the Spirit Sea divine system. The extreme west sacred state was mostly occupied by Yi Fan's disciples. Some of them were occupied by the Witch Clan, the Barbarian Clan, and some of the ancient clans of the Sky World. For example, the Void Emperor's G Clan, the Sacred Battle Ape Clan, the Dragon Nest Clan, and so on. This place became the sacred ground of many sections. Many huge sects rose from the ground and encircled countless spiritual mountains. They recruited some of the innate gods born in the vast boundless world to cultivate their disciples. Some of the experts of the Xingqian school also entered this place. However, there were always conflicts between sects, clans, and ancient clans. There were also endless dispute. Eastern Sea Divine State. The Eastern Sea Divine State was the largest among the 4 divine states. It was also the most beautiful. Some of the experts who cultivated the Emperor Law had started to build their own dynasties here. Imperial Dynasty, and Divine Dynasty. 100 schools of thought contended. Clans and sects were deeply rooted in the Spirit Sea world and had been passed down for countless epochs. Even though Qin Feng had destroyed more than half of them, these things were still imprinted in the hearts of many experts like an undying imprint. In this lawless area that was no longer under the supervision of the Spirit Sea divine system, some overlords could finally be unrestrained. They threw everything aside and started to pursue their dreams of becoming emperors. Chapter 1630. Not only some ambitious people, but some experts of the Spirit Sea divine system also appeared. However, these experts did not establish sects, but established their own cultivation schools, passing down their own cultivation methods, as well as ideas, and accumulating luck. At the same time, there were also experts who cherished talent, and would choose 1 or 2 good jade talents to join their sections. The vast boundless world, with the intervention of many forces, began to prosper. In addition to the 4 divine continents, the 6 seas, and the countless floating islands on the sea also entered the eyes of many forces. 700 years after many experts of various races entered the boundless world, the 5th mortal fairy of the shrouded heavens world was born. After refining the golden pearl of luck, the big black dog finally completed the final transformation. He called himself the Black Emperor, and became the ruler of all the different races of the shrouded heavens world. At the right time, countless experts went to the shrouded heavens world to pay their respect. This was the 9th saint god born in the Spirit Sea. Qin Feng bestowed a part of the Black Emperor's territory, but the Black Belt politely refused. He only chose a life star domain in the shrouded heavens world, called himself the Black Emperor Star Domain, and lived there, establishing his own holy land. The Black Emperor of the shrouded heavens world, to some extent, once again led to a wave of experts proving their Tao. Several ancestor gods in hundreds of years, one after another, sprinted toward the saint god realm. However, the result made all the god emperors and ancestor gods feel a chill in their heart. Failure. Failure again. The saint god realm was much more cruel than imagined. Even now, the Spirit Sea world, which was known to have countless experts, a portion of the experts failed to prove their Tao, but it did not affect the Spirit Sea divine system. In these years, the Spirit Sea divine system began to pay attention to the cultivation of experts. In the great 1,000 spirit domains, the Lingshao Heavenly Court opened countless academies all over the 3,000 spirit domains. Level after level of academies, from martial qi to condensing godhood to achieving the body of a true god, step-by-step teaching ran through the entire Spirit Sea world. Qin Feng had long understood that although the Spirit Sea world's potential had greatly increased after fusing with the Bronze Altar, it was still far from becoming a perfect immortal level world. The strength of a world was not only because of its size, but also because of the experts it gave birth to. Of course, to develop the divine Tao civilization, Qin Feng was also mixed with great selfishness. A 19th Order expert was known as the Sovereign Lord, and was also known as the Lord of Civilization. Developing a complete civilization with a complete ladder and potential was the key to becoming the Lord of Civilization. For example, if Tao ancestor Hongjun had not pushed the Hongjun immortal Tao to the extreme and taught countless immortal Taos, as well as the civilization branches that were derived from the immortal Tao as the core, he would definitely not have been able to break through to the 19th level. In addition to nurturing and developing the God Tao civilization and building a ladder of power, Qin Feng's goal was to use the shortest amount of time to assimilate the Spirit Sea realm, the Boundless Realm, and the Shrouded Heaven realm, using the least amount of resources to nurture the most expert. Not only did Qin Feng nurture experts, but he also sent many experts to take charge of various aspects such as games, entertainment, trade, culture, and many other aspects. A complete civilization was definitely not a one-sided strengthening. Of course, it should have its own unique characteristics, but it should also need to stand side by side and have 100 schools of thought contend. The collision was naturally born. In such an era of great strife, a civilization needed a direction. However, this direction could not be decided by Qin Feng alone, nor could it be completely guided by a single force. It could only be decided by the collision of countless sparks, the countless dimensions, and the countless experts that made up the countless civilizations. Everything was like billions of forest seeds sprouting in a barren piece of fertile land. Although they had just sprouted, they would one day grow into countless towering trees and a verdant forest. On the Chaos World Tree, as the boundless realm merged once more, the Chaos World Tree grew once more. The massive branches of the Chaos World Tree were enormous. Perhaps even some 18th Order primordial chaos holy gods would feel a sense of awe when they saw such a Chaos World Tree. Countless worlds of various sizes hung on the Chaos World Tree, including a dozen greater thousand worlds. Thanks to the evolution of these greater thousand worlds, the Chaos World Tree grew increasingly prosperous. At the center of the Chaos World Tree, Qin Feng sat cross-legged in the Overgod Palace. A jade-colored pool looked like a bottomless abyss. It was the world origin pool in the Overgod space. Every time the Overgod Palace transformed, it would transform as well. At this moment, it contained so much power that even Qin Feng did not know how much world origin force it had gathered. At this moment, Qin Feng was in front of a huge world screen in the Overgod Palace. The countless changes in the world of the Spirit Sea had turned into countless pop-up windows that appeared. Qin Feng muttered to himself. After breaking through the 18th Order, the 19th Order was next. The 19th Order was different from the previous order. The resources it needed were not something that could be easily obtained through cultivation alone. The figures of many 18th Order experts appeared in Qin Feng's mind. The three pristine Tao ancestors, Amitabha. Why did those experts establish so many powerful sects and absorb so many talents into their sects? It was probably to gather the foundation of their civilization and lay a solid foundation for breaking through to the 19th Order. The three pristine Tao ancestors, Ren sect, Chan sect, and Jie sect. Amitabha established the Buddhist sect. What did he have? Qin Feng knew very well that every 18th Order expert had their own path. Amitabha's method of breaking through to the 18th Order should be to establish the innate Buddhist Tao laws. With the innate Buddhist Tao laws as the foundation, he established the Buddhist sect and recruited countless talent. Establishing the Eternal Sands world and strengthening the Buddhist sect was strengthening the innate Buddhist Tao laws. Strengthening the innate Buddhist Tao laws was strengthening oneself. Once the Buddhist Tao civilization evolved into a 33 upper realm, he would be able to break through to the 19th order in one fell swoop. The three pristine Tao ancestors were probably the same. They evolved their own sects, and once they found a 33 upper realm, turned it into a higher realm, and formed their own civilization, they would be able to break through to the Lord of Civilization. However, whether it was the three pristine Tao ancestors or Amitabha, they all came from the Hongjun Immortal Tao. Their civilization was derived from the Hongjun Immortal Tao. It could be said that the stronger they were, the greater the Hongjun Immortal Tao. For Tao ancestor Hongjun, the faster his breakthrough would be. There was a look of realization on Qin Feng's face. He finally understood why Tao ancestor Hongjun did not kill many heaven-defying experts immediately after discovering the ancient world. Instead, he took them in. The higher one stood, the further one could see. At the 19th order, one's vision had long surpassed the simple and crude invasion and competition. This was the Tao of Tao ancestor Hongjun, the three pristine Tao ancestors, and Amitabha. Then what was his civilization? Qin Feng's eyes fell into deep thought. Chapter 1631. Martial Tao? Divine Tao? Demonic Tao? Immortal Tao? A strange light flickered in Qin Feng's eyes. In fact, there was no need to think too much about this question. He had already made his choice long ago. The growth of a civilization was the growth of the primordial chaos law that he had created himself. When a level 18 primordial chaos holy god could be born in a civilization, when the civilization would enter the Deshang stage, condense the fire of civilization in one fell swoop, and become the supreme ruler, the master of civilization. Qin Feng withdrew his gaze from the world screen. Developing a civilization was not an easy task. Nurturing the 9 sacred gods had already consumed countless resources. Even so, a level 17 holy god would not appear in a short period of time. Not to mention nurturing a level 18 powerhouse. However, there was another way to develop a civilization besides self-nurturing: war. A strange light flickered in Qin Feng's eyes. War was undoubtedly the fastest way for a civilization to progress. However, war was often accompanied by countless sacrifices and huge risk. Qin Feng was silent for a moment. However, he did not have much choice. The coordinates of the Spirit Sea world had been exposed, and there were countless secrets within. Countless powerhouses were studying and spying on it day and night. If he did not advance, he would be swallowed up by the powerhouses outside the spirit world sooner or later. This was the most important point. This place was suspected to be the center of the next chaos epoch, a node where the Chaos Sea's destiny converged. It was destined to be a place of trouble. Qin Feng's gaze turned and fell on one of the modules in the Master God's Hall. With a wave of his sleeve, a stream of light blasted on one of the modules. A sparkling and dense bronze light emerged from the sparkling light screen. Streams of light spread out, forming one name after another. Low Martial World, Luo Yu World, Cauldron World, Baixia World, Snow Mountain World, Yun Hai World, Yiwen World, Golden Blade World, and so on. One world after another appeared. Among these worlds there were names that Qin Feng knew, and there were names that Qin Feng did not know. They were densely packed. His eyes flashing, Qin Feng waved his sleeve, and a stream of light blasted out, dispersing this low martial world. After the low martial arts world, the words high martial arts world appeared. Under the 4 words world of martial arts, countless worlds of martial arts were listed. Heavenly Sword World, Condor Shooters World, Laughing Proud World, Lu Xiaofeng World, 9 Elements World, Sword God World, Sword Rain World, Great Tang World, and so on. Qin Feng's eyes fell on the name of one of the worlds. His huge divine consciousness could sense that behind the names of the high-level martial arts worlds, there was a large world. Behind some low-level martial arts worlds there were some small worlds. With a wave of his sleeve, a stream of light flashed. After the high-level martial world, there were low-level immortal martial worlds and high-level immortal martial worlds, such as the world of wind and cloud, the world of zombie, the world of sword heroes, the world of white snake, the world of 8 immortals, the world of demon subduing, and so on. The names of some of the worlds were either marked in red or gray. Among them were the world of white snake, the world of celestial execution, and the world of Faerun. Among them, those marked in red meant that they had already been there, such as the world of the white snake. As for the gray marker, it meant that it could not be summoned, just like the world of immortal execution. Qin Feng waved his hand again, and this time, a large expanse of golden light appeared. Within the golden light, 4 large words appeared. Low Upper Realm, Origin Spirit World, Nine Tunes World, Buddha World, Black Yellow World, Fate Destroyer World, Divine Gourd World, Divine Battle World, Demon Dao World, Emperor Shi World, Eastern Wilderness World, Thousand Demon World, 9 Luminaries World, Great Wilderness World, and a large group of worlds appeared. Qin Feng's eyes fell on Divine Battle World, Emperor Shi World, Eastern Wilderness World, and took a few glances at a large group of familiar worlds. Qin Feng still remembered that when he first saw the world that appeared after fusing with bronze, he was stunned for a long time. After the low upper realm, there was the high upper realm. In the high upper realm, a large expanse of gray chaos rolled, as if there was some terrifying and unbelievable existence behind the chaos. Several names were faintly discernible. Among them, the names of 2 worlds were like eternal boulders embedded in the chaos. Origin Divine World, Eldritch World. Even though they were displayed, the 2 names were surrounded by thunder and lightning, and a terrifying power passed through the light screen and went straight into the depths of Qin Feng's soul. A faint trace of pride appeared in Qin Feng's eyes. When the bronze altar fell into the hands of someone like Layden, it could only passively summon worlds and unleash a tiny bit of its power. But when it fell into his hands, it was an immortal foundation. Now, after fusing with the bronze altar, the main god's palace could not only summon worlds, but it could also choose to summon worlds on its own. This kind of usage was something that Layden could not compare to. With this ability, would the Spirit Sea world not be able to evolve into a high upper realm in the shortest time possible? Qin Feng's gaze fell on the light screen, and his gaze fell on the row of names of the worlds below the low upper realm. Qin Feng's gaze was filled with regret. Although after fusing with the bronze altar, the main god's world could now summon worlds, this was the best he could do. He could not obtain the specific strength of the summoned worlds, how many powerhouses there were, how many 17th level or 18th level powerhouses there were. Rashly summoning unfamiliar worlds was still a huge risk. What if there was a 19th level supreme ruler hidden there, and he was summoned? Qin Feng shuddered and shook his head. But summoning worlds was something that would happen sooner or later. Qin Feng already had a plan in his heart. His gaze fell on the names of the worlds, and there was a hint of contemplation in his eyes. Soon, Qin Feng put aside his thoughts. The concept of how to develop a divine Tao civilization was too illusory. There were many things that could not be achieved with a plan alone. He turned around and looked at the light screen of another world. With a slight movement of his divine consciousness, 2 formless incarnations appeared behind him. In fact, while promoting the development of a divine Tao civilization, he still had other things to do. Creating the 3 corpse incarnations was only the first step to reaching the 18th level. The next step was to perfect the 3 corpse law and combine the 3 corpses. A primordial chaos holy god with the 3 corpses combined and a primordial chaos holy god without the 3 corpses combined were 2 different concepts. While Qin Feng was thinking of ways to perfect the 3 corpse incarnations, the Spirit Sea world was undergoing earth-shattering changes at every moment. After a portion of powerhouses entered the boundless world, the spirit sea world did not quiet down because of this. Instead, it was in an uproar. By controlling the spirit sea world, the boundless world, and the shrouded sky world, the spirit sea divine system basically controlled the authority of countless planes. The fortune and benefits they could obtain were innumerable. Under the spirit sea divine system's generous supply of fortune, the changes in a short few hundred years were astonishing. In particular, a portion of the shrouded sky world's secret techniques slowly appeared in the 3000 spirit region, a portion of the greater 1000 worlds, and even the martial arts academies of major worlds. This impact on the current system of the spirit sea world was no less than a huge revolution in the cultivation system. Chapter 1632. Various schools of thought were rapidly colliding. In the current spirit sea world, there were actually some systems that were imported. For example, the immortal path system, the Buddhist path system, and even Qin Feng's demonic path system. Shrouding the heavens' immortal path system was also, to a certain extent, an imported product. While many worlds still used rules to restrict their development and enslave living beings, the spirit sea world had already begun to transform all sorts of rules into weapons against enemies. This was a subversive development, no longer adhering to the rules, but using them as means and tools to achieve goals. The spirit sea world had already begun to show the spirit and breadth of mind that a civilization should have. However, this change came with great risk. If not for Qin Feng's perfect control of the three major worlds, and the spirit sea divine system's experts spread throughout the major worlds, and their powerful force deterred external enemies, the hidden undercurrents and external enemies would have already overturned the spirit sea world. The knowledge systems of countless worlds were colliding. Unsuitable ones were eliminated. Suitable ones were developing, growing, experiencing all sorts of impacts or transforming. The divine path was currently the mainstream cultivation system. After integrating a portion of the shrouding the heavens cultivation system, it began to transform. The appearance of the worldly immortal caused the entire spirit sea world to boil. It turned out that there was a realm even closer to the saint god realm above the ancestral god realm. This knowledge of the entire world was earth-shattering. Its appearance was of great significance to many ancestral gods. Breaking through to the 16th level of the saint god realm greatly reduced the losses. When the divine path was benefiting, the immortal path schools of the immortal world were the first to be impacted. Those weak and pure chi refiners of the immortal path were far too weak compared to martial path experts and demonic path experts of the same level. This weakness caused the number of innate gods who joined the immortal path to decrease over the years. The immortal path academy's disciples were far inferior to the demonic path, martial path, and divine path academy's experts. With no other choice, the immortal path experts led by the Wood Master God began to transform. Some began to approach the immortal path, integrating a portion of the martial path as a foundation to strengthen their physical body. With their physical body as the chaos, they nurtured a strong primordial spirit. In fact, this transformation did, to a certain extent, change the weakness of the immortal path's early-stage physical body. However, there were also some who chose to persist. And from among them evolved a sword cultivator with extremely strong combat strength, tempering his natal immortal sword, an immortal sword that was the best of his peers. One sword to break all laws. This expert, who created the immortal Tao sword cultivation method, called herself Sword Immortal Li Qinglian. He was known as a rare peerless genius of this era. There were also people who comprehended the artifact cultivation method from the immortal Tao. They used a strand of immortal qi to temper their bodies, turning it into a furnace for the body that nurtured billions of Dharma treasures. From there, they achieved a quantitative change that triumphed over a qualitative change. This was somewhat similar to the spiritual treasure sect of the demonic path. However, the demonic path transformed one's physical body into a supreme treasure until the spiritual treasure took form and guided a law into one's body to break through to the 16th rank sacred god realm. In fact, it proved that the equipment refining sect was indeed feasible, especially when all kinds of treasures were used in battle, which often produced miraculous effects. With the combination of all kinds of magic tools, one could unleash a power that was several times or even 10 times greater than one's own. All in all, the tool sect was extraordinary. Many blacksmiths in the Spirit Sea world were motivated. This made the weapon refiners even more furious. The expert who created the artifact cultivation method even more so became famous, known as the Immortal Tao Artifact Sect, obtaining a great amount of luck. Now, in the All Heavens Space-Time Trading Center, only the Spiritual Treasure Sect and the Immortal Tao Artifact Sect sold magic tools that were the most popular. In addition to these two major sects, some Immortal Tao sects were born, but their influence was not as great as that of sword and artifact cultivators, so they could only be found in one region. Thanks to this, the Immortal Tao finally stabilized a part of its footing. However, in this great era, luck did not dominate. Even so, with a portion of luck, 1 or 2 immortal emperors were born. Divine emperors of the Immortal Tao. While the Immortal Tao was under attack, the other Taos were also under great pressure. The Immortal Tao was able to hold on for the time being. The path of sacrifice, shaman, sage, savage, and other cultivation systems were gradually crushed by the Divine Tao, which was growing stronger and stronger. Various sects and clans were forcibly destroyed. Some of the dregs were abandoned, and the essence was integrated into the civilization of the Divine Tao. This was especially true for the experts of the path of sacrifice. These experts were the first to be integrated into the Divine Tao. The primeval path of sacrifice had arisen in the primeval era before the Spirit Sea's ascension. At that time, the wildlands were rampant and martial Tao had yet to be born. Many wildlands experts relied on sacrifices to the gods to obtain the power to become gods. The sacrifice of the gods was a supreme technique passed down in this era. Several hundred years ago, when the Spirit Sea divine system tossed out the great weapon of divine authority, the path of sacrifice was directly swallowed up by the gods of the Divine Tao. However, to some extent this could be considered a development of the path of sacrifice. The birth of divine authority was inseparable from the sacrifices of all living beings. The various evil sacrificial methods that could only be hidden in dark corners in the past were revised layer by layer, becoming all sorts of grand and proper rituals. The various evil and terrifying secret arts of sacrifice were also gradually reformed and revised under this trend. Some of the bloody and dark things were abandoned, becoming brighter and more dignified. There was also the Shaman Tao and Sage Tao. In recent years, the Shaman Tao had shown signs of revival. Shaman experts focused on advancing the physical body and laws simultaneously, and to a certain extent, it was close to the mainstream of the Divine Tao. However, the Shaman Tao focused more on the forging of bloodlines. The Shaman Tao was originally a relatively weak branch, but after several hundred years of the Divine Tao, it gradually became a branch of the Divine Tao. Now, they preferred to call themselves the Shaman sect. After merging with the Shaman Tao, the Sage Tao was directly torn apart. The Sage Tao focused on education. The Sage Tao epoch had once prospered in a certain primordial era. At that time, the martial Tao had yet to be born, and all living beings cultivated the art of speech and wisdom. They used the wisdom to control the laws of the world, condemning in speech and writing. The heart of wisdom burned with fire, tempering the body of righteousness. In the past, the Ji Xian sect was a sect that passed down the Sage Tao. The Shi and Ji emperors were the Sage Tao great emperors. However, when the martial Tao rose, the Sage Tao was reduced to a minority system. If it was not for the integration of a part of the essence of the martial Tao, it would have declined long ago. As the era of innate gods descended, many living beings were innate saints and gods. The inheritance of the sage Tao could only be shelved. However, a part of the essence of the sage Tao was absorbed by the martial Tao academies in the various spirit domains, big and small planes. Respecting one's teachers was something that had existed since ancient times. Nurturing righteousness to suppress one's mind was a supreme technique that could temper one's state of mind. In particular, some experts who cultivated the power of light realized that after the righteousness and the power of light merged, there seemed to be another mystery. Chapter 1633. At the birth of civilization, the various cultivation systems collided intensely. The Buddhism system established in the depths of the Western Endless Plains was also greatly impacted. The Buddhism system now extended the path of a portion of the Pure Land Zen sect's eminent monks in the primordial era. They built their foundation with martial arts and focused on various Buddhist martial arts. They comprehended the Buddhist nature in their abilities and perfected it. They condensed Buddhist sariras in order to ascend to the thoughtless great world established by the Buddha in the Western Endless Plains. When a portion of the Pure Land Zen sect's experts in the primordial era were killed by other primordial era experts, the Pure Land Zen sect's inheritance began to break. In order to preserve the inheritance, the last Zen master of the Pure Land sealed all the Buddhist legacies left behind by the eminent monks of the Pure Land Zen sect in a secret chamber called the Nirvana Realm. That was how he died. For countless eras, the Pure Land Zen sect had long been submerged in the long river of time. Only a portion of the Pure Land Zen sect's Buddhist abilities were passed down, indicating that they had once existed. In the past few months, there were some experts from the Zen sect of the Pure Land who had accidentally reincarnated and returned. They attempted to rebuild the inheritance of the Zen sect of the Pure Land. However, every time they appeared, they were like shooting stars. Under the suppression of the 72 mysterious sects and the 800 unorthodox groups, they were destroyed. Until the ancestor of Dharma, Shinshio, was born. The ancestor of Dharma, Shinshio, was born with the orthodox inheritance of the primordial Zen sect. Since young, he had received the teachings of the primordial Zen sect's remaining experts. He was born with great fortune. If that was all, the primordial Zen sect could only reappear in the world. Among the various sects, there might be opportunities that could replace any of the 72 profound sects. But that was all he could do. But this time, the primordial Zen sect's luck was rather good. Not only did they encounter the Spirit Sea world's upgrade, but the Xingchen school also gave birth to a Spirit Sea ruler. With the title of Spirit Sea ruler, the ancestor of Dharma, Shinshio, had a smooth journey after establishing the thoughtless great world in the West. The Zen sect prospered and even became Buddhism. In many primordial worlds, the ancient Zen experts who had left behind their divine consciousnesses began to return to the Buddhist kingdom in the form of innate God. As a special branch of the Spirit Sea divine system, the Spirit Sea Buddhism's growth was unstoppable, especially after fusing with a portion of the essence of the primordial Buddhist sect. This was because the Buddhist sect contained the profound mysteries of the severing three lives of the monarch-level powerhouses. This attracted a large number of powerhouses to join in. For a time, there were signs of 10,000 Buddhas coming to pay homage. However, as the cultivation of the divine path flourished day by day, the impact was extremely obvious. Although many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Buddhist League were working hard to expand their sects and establish one spirit mountain world after another in the numerous planes of existence, the nirvana lands of bliss. However, he still couldn't avoid the weakening of his aura. This was different from the path of saints and the path of sacrifice. It was not that the cultivation system of Buddhism was outdated, but that it was due to the collision of ideas. Buddhism emphasized the joy of nirvana. The four elements were all empty, and there was no desire or desire. However, in such an era of great strife, the God system had let go of the shackles of achieving the great path. The great world was like adding oil to a raging fire. How could ordinary creatures treat the four elements as nothing? On the Chaos World Tree, in the main God's palace, Qin Feng sat on the divine throne. Behind him, a primordial treasure light soared into the sky and vaguely seemed to fill the world. In the treasure light, 10,000 gods stood in great numbers. The gods revealed their Tao fruits, and a figure appeared in the center. It was like another celestial emperor. He sat high in the 9 levels of heaven, surrounded by arcane yellow qi. He looked down on the world and countless divine voices were transmitted. In the treasure light, a huge divine palace floated and sank. It absorbed the boundless divine power radiance and revealed the appearance of billions of gods high and mighty. It was the Pantheon Palace that Qin Feng created by materializing the innate primordial law. The innate divine Tao law. The innate divine Tao law. If the 3 pure ones Tao ancestors used the Ren school, Chan school, and Jie school as the foundation of civilization, Qin Feng's foundation was the divine Tao. With the 10,000 gods as the master, he established the boundless divine Tao. In the system he comprehended, be it the demon, Buddha, celestial, martial Tao, or shaman Tao, they all belonged to the divine Tao and became the master of laws. In fact, when he created the divine Tao law, Qin Feng already noticed the existence of the divine Tao law in the chaos. But that didn't stop him from using the innate celestial Tao as the foundation to break through to the 19th level, becoming the supreme ruler. Sitting cross-legged, Qin Feng suddenly opened his eyes. A beam of divine light appeared in his eyes. Countless beams of divine light circulated behind him. The spiritual sea world, the boundless world, the shrouding sky world, the 3 worlds were enveloped by divine light. In the 3 worlds, the evolution of the divine Tao civilization was like a floating light that was absorbed by the divine light behind Qin Feng, becoming the nourishment for the divine light's growth. Removing the false and retaining the true, removing the crudeness and extracting the essence. Bit by bit, after turning into the divine Tao civilization, they forged and strengthened the innate celestial law in the depths of the divine light. After receiving a part of the fire of civilization, the innate celestial law's manifestation of the innate celestial palace became clearer and clearer, growing stronger and stronger as time passed. On the other side of the main God's palace, the 3 incarnations of Taoist Ling Hai and Taoist Kong Kong revealed themselves. Behind the 3 incarnations, a divine light emerged. One turned into the 21st level gray lotus, and the other turned into a silver tome. The rank 21 lotus flower was the lotus of good fortune. After experiencing the rebirth of the boundless world, Qin Feng used the heaven-splitting secret art to evolve all living things and absorbed a portion of the boundless world's origin, evolving it into the rank 21 lotus of good fortune. Once the 21st level lotus of fortune evolved into the 24th level lotus of fortune, Taoist Ling Hai's incarnation of the innate celestial law of fortune would reach perfection. The other silver tome was the universe tome. When Taoist Kong Kong was created with the universe tome, the tome was merged with the Ling Hai world and the space laws were constantly improving. Qin Feng squinted his eyes. He didn't have to worry about this at all. As long as the Ling Hai world evolved into a high-level higher realm, Taoist Kong Kong would be able to reach perfection. For him, it was time to create the 3rd corpse. Since he created the innate celestial law, the 3rd corpse naturally had to be created using the innate celestial law. After that, the 3 corpses would merge into one and break through to the 19th level. After pondering for a moment, Qin Feng quickly discarded this thought. Whether or not he created the 3rd corpse wasn't particularly important. The 3rd corpse used the innate celestial law as its foundation. For the innate celestial law to reach perfection, he had to enter the Deshang realm. There was still a long way to go before he reached perfection. His body trembled and the countless divine lights began to converge. Taoist Ling Hai and Taoist Kong Kong turned into two streaks of light and entered his body. A powerful aura surged and 3 flowers vaguely appeared above his head before vanishing into nothingness. What a powerful force! With this power, Qin Feng felt that if he met the Doomsday Lord again, he would be able to easily shatter his true body. However, Qin Feng knew very well that this sort of change was merely a misconception caused by his unstable state of mind that had just broken through. In truth, they were all primordial chaos holy gods. It was really difficult to determine who was better unless he could achieve perfection with one corpse. Otherwise, he could be as foolish as the purple jade dragon lord, who ran into his world on his own accord. Sighing softly, Qin Feng's eyes flickered with traces of divine light and he looked at the altar in the Master God's Hall. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.